My sister and I descended to the mortal realm to experience love's trials, and the Fate Star Lord presented us with two men to choose from. One was a gentle, honest shepherd named Yura, the other a wealthy playboy. As the Heavenly Queen's trueborn daughter, my sister was destined for the rich heir, leaving me no choice but to accept the penniless shepherd, yet she became intoxicated with romance, indulging in mortal luxuries. To my shock, the villagers branded her a demon and conspired with a wealthy young lord to imprison her in the nearby Soul-Lock Tower. Yora helped me transcend the heavenly tribulation, and I ascended to godhood. Consumed by jealousy, my sister burned through her immortal essence to shatter the Soul-Lock Tower. As I endured the lightning trials of divine ascension, she detonated her golden core in a final act of mutual destruction. When we opened our eyes again, we were back at the day the Fate Star Lord had us choose our men. This time, my sister chose Yora without hesitation. She thought Yora could help her through the tribulation, unaware of what truly lay beneath his simple, honest appearance. Mother, since this is about surviving the tribulation, I choose Yora. On the day my sister and I descended to the mortal realm for our love tribulation, the Heavenly Queen herself came to see us off. The Heavenly Queen paused thoughtfully. Yora comes from humble means, choosing him will bring you hardship. My sister countered lightly, Mother, since this is our mortal trial, we must taste life's bitterness to ascend. At that moment, I knew with absolute certainty, my sister had been reborn too. The star of destiny came to urge, Your Majesty, the auspicious hour has arrived. The 6th and 7th princesses must ascend to the mortal realm now. Without hesitation, my sister flew toward Yora, while I could only follow behind her toward the wealthy Tobias. All celestial beings who ascend after overcoming the trial of love must drink from the river of forgetfulness, erasing all mortal memories. No one truly knows how to pass the trial of love. Who among us will ascend to godhood? That remains to be seen. My sister and I are the celestial emperor's two youngest daughters, born with immortal essence. We are but one step away from achieving godhood, enduring the trial of love. The two men chosen for us by the Lord of Fate, one is gentle and honest, but dirt poor. He's a Yora herder, doesn't even have a proper name, everyone just calls him Yora. Tobias was a wealthy and flirtatious young man, the son of a country squire. My elder sister was the celestial queen's own daughter, while I was merely the neglected child of a celestial concubine. In our past life, fearing my sister might suffer in the mortal realm, the celestial queen commanded the fate deity to arrange Tobias as her destined match. Not only was Tobias fabulously wealthy, but he was also exceptionally handsome. After descending to the mortal realm, the elder sister transformed into a laundress by the river in Nugia village, feigning a chance encounter with Tobias. Having grown up in the remote Nugia village, Tobias had never seen a woman as breathtaking as her. He was instantly smitten, believing her to be a celestial beauty, and promptly brought her home. Soon after, Tobias's family held a joyous wedding ceremony where he married the elder sister. The couple lived in perfect harmony, their days dripping with honeyed affection, a domestic bliss I secretly envied for quite some time. But the peace didn't last. The village was plagued by a series of child disappearances, and the only remains ever found were tiny skeletons. Soon whispers spread through the village that the elder sister was a demon preying on mortals. During an outing with Tobias, the villagers conspired to trap his sister in the soul-binding pagoda, where her very essence was nearly obliterated. Though Tobias was born into wealth, he'd lost both parents to local demons in his childhood. His greatest hatred in life was demons. He'd rather slaughter 1,000 innocents than let one escape. Unlike my sister's tragic fate, being forced to stay with Yora unexpectedly became my path to ascension. Bound to Yora, I wove cloth day and night to barter for survival. By chance, I not only wove for myself but taught our village the arts of sericulture and weaving. They called me the Weaving Maiden. My influence grew steadily, reaching not just the villagers of Oxhorn Hamlet but also neighboring communities. They erected a temple in my honor, addressing me reverently as Ceres. When the shrine was completed, the heavens showered us with iridescent auroras. Could aiding common folk truly be the key to transcending tribulations? Overjoyed, I rushed to share the news with my sister. My sister was engrossed in her romantic moment with Tobias and scoffed, Mortals live mere decades, who'll remember your deeds a century later? Besides, we're here to experience love's trials. What concern are these humans of ours? I left disheartened, wondering, does mortal affection only mean romantic love? Later, when an unprecedented century-long winter struck the mortal realm, my cotton-padded clothing technique saved countless commoners from the bitter cold. My reputation as Ceres grew ever greater. That year, spring arrived unusually late. Familiar children in the neighborhood kept perishing during those final winter nights, while village food supplies dwindled. More children vanished daily, whispered to be stolen by demons. After much deliberation, I resolved to expend all my spiritual cultivation to bring forth spring's warmth and blossoms. When spring finally came, I stood ready for my soul to scatter until the Star Lord of Fate made his unexpected visitation. He congratulated me. Hail the 7th princess, who has successfully overcome the trial of love and ascended to godhood. I was enshrined as the mistress of the Weaver's Palace. bestowed the divine title series, governing all silkworm cultivation and textile affairs under heaven. My elder sister turned green-eyed with jealousy when she sensed these developments. She exhausted her immortal essence to break the Soul-Lock Tower's seal. As I endured the Divine Ascension's lightning tribulation, she focused her core's energy into a devastating force that struck my spiritual core. Caught between celestial punishment and her assault, we perished together in the end. When we opened our eyes again, we were reborn. Back to the day of descending to the mortal realm to choose our destined men. This time, elder sister chose Yora first, but he wasn't the gentle soul everyone believed him to be. Then I had no choice but to pick her beloved Tobias. I went straight to Tobias's house, and he was startled to see me. "Who are you?" he asked. With a beaming smile, I replied, "I'm the seventh fairy from the heavenly palace." He looked puzzled for a moment before exclaiming, "You're not some kind of demon, are you?" I twirled in front of him, my layered skirts fluttering in the breeze, and instinctively tilted my chin up. "Have you ever seen a demon this beautiful?" I teased. His eyes were filled with wariness, tinged with a hint of panic. "My mother," she said, "the more beautiful the demon, the more terrifying it is." He took a few steps back, as if trying to escape, but I teleported behind him. He spun around, startled, his face ashen, completely drained of color. I was quite speechless. "Didn't your mother also leave you a demon-revealing mirror?" I said calmly. "Why don't you use it on me and see if I'm a demon?" With a mix of doubt and wonder, he carefully pulled a cloth-wrapped mirror from his robe, then unwrapped a worn bronze mirror from within. He shakily aimed the bronze mirror at me. My reflection still stared back, but now, mist swirled around me, as if I stood in a celestial realm. He gasped, Are you truly an immortal?" He immediately knelt. "Immortal maiden, to what do I owe the honor of your visit to my humble home?" I gestured for him to skip the formalities and casually remarked, "I happened to pass through during my tribulation journey and found this place quite auspicious. Mind if I borrow your residence for a short stay?" "Naturally. I'm aware your parents fell victim to the village demon. As compensation, I'll help you track down this creature to avenge your clan's destruction, then teach you some immortal techniques. How does that sound?" Tobias frowned and fell silent for a moment. As if wrestling with something difficult to articulate, I asked, "Do you have reservations about this?" After a long pause, he stammered, "Though I only glimpsed that monster once as a child and can scarcely recall its features, the creature was enormous and hideous. Your radiance outshines all, fair immortal, yet you appear so delicate and graceful. How could you possibly stand against such a fiend?" I arched an eyebrow. "You doubt me?" He waved his hands hastily, swearing he meant no such thing. That's exactly what he meant. I soared into the air above Tobias's backyard, summoning my trusty sword. It circled the yard once at my command before returning to my hand. Branches from the old tree in the yard rained down, leaving Tobias stunned. I landed softly and walked back to his side. "So, Tobias, do you think I'm a match for that monster now?" Tobias's ears flushed. "My apologies. I've been presumptuous." I gave him a cool glance, then kneel. He obediently knelt, staring blankly, unsure of what to do next. "What an idiot," I told him. "Since you're set on learning immortal arts, then let's make it official. Become my disciple." The realization hit him, and he earnestly kowtowed to me 3 times. From then on, I comfortably settled into Tobias's residence, and Tobias and I began to address each other as master and disciple. Although Tobias didn't possess a natural gift for cultivating immortality, he was diligent, hardworking, and incredibly honest. He practically hung on my every word as his master. After several months of studying immortal arts, he finally started to show some progress. Now back to our sister's story. A skilled weaver recently appeared in Nyojia village. They say she's Yora's wife, who fell in love with him at first sight by the Ruashui River in the village. Her weaving skills are extraordinary. Not only does she craft fabrics herself, but also teaches villagers sericulture and textile techniques, making her beloved by all. I've carefully counted the days. There are only a few months left until the once-in-a-century cold snap, just like the one in my previous life, and my method for making padded clothes is my own invention. My sister knows nothing about it. I said to Tobias, "The people of Nyojia village are poor. Why don't we set up shelters and offer porridge? We could do something good for our fellow villagers." Tobias didn't miss a chance to flatter me. "Master, you truly have a benevolent heart," I said smugly. "Is it true that everything I do is good in your eyes?" He murmured almost inaudibly, "Of course." "What?" I instinctively asked, not catching his words. He turned away without responding, his face flushing crimson from the ears outward like sunset clouds. Clearing his throat awkwardly, he said, "Master, I'll go prepare for the relief porridge distribution now." The person scurried away in a flash. I've drawn up schematics for making cotton-padded clothes, and everyone who comes for porridge can take a copy. The villagers might not understand this blueprint, but my sister certainly will. The porridge being served contains a shape-shifting powder that makes demons' true forms visible. From my memories of 2 lifetimes, the demon that slaughtered Tobias' family must be the same creature that preys on children during winter. This demon has lurked in Sioux village for years. I suspect it's been living among the villagers, perhaps even sharing meals and dwellings, perfectly concealed. The transformation powder might reveal its demonic aura, yet after several days, I've detected no trace of demonic energy leaking from any household. Meanwhile, my sister told the villagers she invented the cotton-padded jacket technique, claiming her tailoring designs were stolen by the demon. The missing drawing is exactly the one I sent to everyone. My original intention was for my sister to teach everyone how to make cotton-padded clothes and popularize the skill. That way, when winter comes, more people would be able to survive the harsh cold. I never expected my sister to turn around and accuse me like this. I helped her do something meritorious, and now she's putting me on the spot. My sister, right in front of the villagers, used my blueprints to create a padded winter coat. She already commanded immense respect among the villagers. And now, they believed every word she said without question. Before long, rumors that I was a demon had spread throughout the entire village. It seems my sister must have learned the secret to ascending to godhood in her previous life. This time around, her reputation for good deeds spread much faster than mine ever did in my past life. It wasn't long before the method for making padded coats reached the neighboring village. The villagers there now revere her as Ceres and are even building a temple in her honor. These blessings were rightfully mine. Unlike my sister who was revered as the mortal Ceres, the villagers of Neogia saw me as a monster. They stormed to Tobias' residence, demanding he hand over this demon or they'd burn the place down. I glanced worriedly at Tobias, whom I'd lived with for months, in our past life, though my sister spent every waking moment with him as his beloved. He still chose righteousness over family and imprisoned her in the soul-binding tower. I hold no illusions he'll act differently this time. With a sigh, I turned toward the Tobias residence gates in disappointment, only to feel his hand suddenly grasping mine. Don't go. My eyes lit up as I met his gaze. You believe me? He nodded shyly, his voice faint yet incredibly firm. You are a good person. That day, when you were distributing porridge, I saw you from afar giving a bun to a beggar when no one else was around. I've only met that weaver girl once, although the villagers speak highly of her. When I was on my way home that day, I saw her kick a dying puppy on the roadside. She clearly had no intention of doing good. He gazed at me with unfathomable tenderness in his eyes. I trust you. You are a good person, not some monster. I chuckled softly and ruffled Tobias' hair. Unless my eyes deceived me, his cheeks seemed to flush red again. My dear apprentice, of course I'm no monster. Tobias' eyes widened. Then is the weaver girl a monster? I shook my head. What an idiot. Not exactly. My name is Isra, and the weaver you mentioned, Nesta, is my sister. My dear apprentice, the world isn't just black and white. Not all demons are evil. Just as people can be good or bad, we immortals, too, have our good and evil. I opened the door to Tobias's residence. Every villager held a hoe and a sickle, as if ready for a fight to the death with me. Some even threw vegetable leaves and fruit at me. I wasn't angry. I simply brushed off my sleeve and declared loudly to the villagers, I am no demon. There must be some misunderstanding. The villagers started talking over each other, a cacophony of voices. How could the weaver girl goddess be wrong about a monster stealing her clothing designs? But Lady Ceres, with her own divine words, declared you a monster. She's the monster. Don't listen to her excuses. I waited until the villagers had mostly quieted down, then seized a moment of silence to call out, may I meet this weaver goddess you all speak of? This was the first time I saw my sister since we descended to the mortal realm. My sister saw me in faint concern. Little sister, what brings you here? I scoffed inwardly. The villagers were all outside, and it was just the two of us in the room. Did my sister still need to put on this act of sisterly affection for me? We've all been reborn, sister. There's no need to pretend anymore. Hearing me say this, my sister finally dropped her hypocritical facade. Her face turned cold. Since you knew all along, why didn't you stop me when I chose Yora? Yora appears simple and honest, but he's actually quite shrewd beneath the surface. We celestial maidens who descend to earth seal all our divine powers within a jade pendant. Should this pendant be lost, we'd become no different from ordinary mortals. In my past life, Yora stole my jade pendant, forcing me to remain trapped weaving cloth in this wretched ox village. Had my pendant still been with me, I wouldn't have needed to exhaust all my cultivation just to bring spring blossoms. Nor would I have fallen to my sister's dual assault of heavenly tribulation and core energy, leaving us both dead in the end. I glared coldly at my sister. You couldn't wait to choose Yora. Wasn't it all to ascend to godhood sooner? My sister was so furious her face turned ashen. She stammered you, for ages, but couldn't string together a complete sentence. The villagers outside had already started to murmur amongst themselves. Why aren't the weaver girl and that demoness coming out yet? Nothing bad could have happened, could it? I whispered a few words into my sister's ear, then cast a spell, and she fell under my magical control. Now, my sister is like any mortal, a mere puppet on strings, controlled by my puppetry. My sister and I pushed the door open together, appearing side by side before the villagers. Tobias pushed his way to the front, anxiously asking me, Master, are you all right? I said calmly, it's nothing. Sister's eyes flickered with emotion at the sight of Tobias. but puppet magic soon dulled them into vacancy. I told the villagers, "Since you won't believe my words, let the weaving maiden herself enlighten you." Sister declared to the villagers, "Azra is my sister. We're celestial maidens undergoing mortal trials." At this moment, vast swathes of colorful, iridescent clouds stretched across the sky, unfurling from the distant horizon and drawing ever closer. A weight lifted from my heart, just as I'd suspected. The temple in the neighboring village, built for my sister, had been completed at this very moment. Witnessing the celestial phenomenon, the villagers knelt and cried out, "It truly is a goddess descending from the heavens. Greetings, immortal maiden." In the distance, Yora was returning, riding an ox. From afar, I saw the old ox's eyes glowing green. "That ox, it's possessed." I retracted my puppetry spell and secretly whispered to my sister, "Has your family been drinking the porridge I made recently?" My sister lifted her chin haughtily. "I wouldn't deign to drink your porridge, though the neighbor did give me a bowl." I fed it to the ox. Suddenly everything made sense. That ox was actually a 1,000-year-old demon with formidable magical powers. No wonder a mere mortal like Yora knew about secret affairs like the stolen jade pendant. In my past life, the missing children from the village were likely its doing too. A child's vital essence is the purest form of nourishment for demons. It had been so close to me, yet I remained completely unaware. I whispered, "That old ox is a demon." I tossed my sword to my sister, yelling, "Protect these mortals." With a flip, I soared through the clouds to Yora, who was some distance away. Sensing the location of my sister's jade pendant, I formed a hand seal. In an instant, I transformed into a golden streak of light, striking the pendant. After snatching it, I immediately returned it to her. The ox demon reacted, transforming into its colossal 9-horned demonic ox form, relentlessly pursuing me. I'd been hit multiple times in the back by his sinister dark magic. My sister was just 100 meters away. I channeled my immortal energy, threw the jade pendant to her, and yelled, "Sister, catch this, protect these mortals." My sister leaped into the air, caught the jade pendant, and immediately used her powerful cultivation to erect a golden barrier between us and the mortals. I breathed a sigh of relief, glad that no innocents would be harmed. From a distance, I spotted someone crawling in at the edge of the barrier. It was my apprentice, Tobias. I broke out in a cold sweat. "My foolish apprentice, did I teach you immortal arts just for you to throw your life away?" Before I could worry about him, Yora began playing his usual shepherd's flute. Suddenly, every note pierced my mind like a sharp sword, and I instantly felt dizzy and disoriented. The ox demon's eyes shot out two beams of emerald light that coalesced into a crackling bolt. Like a viper, the electric serpent morphed into a glowing green sword 2 yards away, thrusting straight toward my golden core. Suddenly, a voice called out, "Master." It was Tobias, that simpleton's dopey voice. In that instant, countless memories flashed through my mind, all the days I'd spent with Tobias. Tobias just couldn't grasp the 72 transformations, no matter how hard he tried, so I disciplined him with a ruler. When I teased him, I'd playfully tug his ear and pretend to be stern, saying, "You're such a goofball, who would ever want to be your wife?" His face would flush crimson, like a sunset. We were playing around in the courtyard, and I accidentally stumbled, falling right into his arms. "We've only known each other for a few months, so why is he all I can think about?" Just when I thought I was doomed to fall, just like in my previous life, a strong, firm chest appeared in front of me, his heart pounding a fierce rhythm. It was Tobias, standing there, shielding me. Suddenly, dark clouds gathered, and a colossal tower materialized above the barrier. 6 intertwined green lightning bolts suspended the demon ox in midair, trapping it as if in an inescapable net. I looked up, and there it was, the spirit-locking pagoda. The demon ox's demonic energy was siphoned away, and Yora collapsed to the ground, utterly defeated. The flute in his hand, once imbued with demonic power, reverted to an ordinary shepherd's pipe. Tears streaming down his face, he cried out to the demon ox suspended beneath the spirit-locking pagoda, "Old ox." No, Yora had a profound bond with Old Cow. Yora was orphaned at a young age and grew up living with his elder brother and sister-in-law. Yora's parents had originally left behind a small inheritance, but his brother and sister-in-law kept it all for themselves. Yora had always felt a lack of familial warmth since childhood, so he never argued with his brother and sister-in-law, only wishing for more affection. Sadly, even such a small wish couldn't come true. With her brother-in-law Yora's tacit approval, his sister-in-law starved 8-year-old Yora for 3 days, then demanded he cross mountains and bring back a cow empty-handed. Yora crossed a mountain, and utterly exhausted, he was on the verge of starving to death in the woods. It was then that he encountered an old ox who had just lost its maiden calf. The old ox carved a piece of flesh from its own body, roasted it, and fed it to him, saving his life. It also asked Yora to bring it home to meet his brother and sister-in-law. On the second day after the old ox returned home, Yora's brother and sister-in-law mysteriously died. Yora had always known the old ox was a demon, Yet he experienced a rare human warmth from it. Old Neo was more like an elder, a father figure to him. So, over the years, even though he knew many things might be wrong, he was willing to go against his own conscience and aid evil, wiping out Tobias's entire family, stealing the fairy's jade pendant, devouring the essence of infants. Which of these didn't have his fingerprints all over it? I walked towards Yora and told him, "He deserves all of this. We were husband and wife in a past life. In this one, let's just bring it to an end." I turned around, and Tobias was already standing behind me. I hadn't even noticed when he got there. He looked at me with puppy dog eyes. "Master, I don't like it when you talk to him like that." I humored him. All right, I'll talk to you like this from now on. Is that better?" Suddenly, 6 green lightning bolts beneath the soul-binding tower coalesced into a single thunderous strike, smiting the ox demon and sealing it within the tower. The tower gradually shrank until it rested in Tobias's palm. Only then did I comprehend what happened. "This tower belongs to you?" I asked in disbelief. "Indeed," he replied. "It was my mother's legacy to me." His face practically screamed, "Master, praise me now." Though inwardly I thought, "Your mother certainly left you quite the inheritance." With the bull demon vanquished, my sister withdrew the barrier, and the skies cleared once more. Just then, heavenly tribulation lightning descended, the final trial for ascension to godhood. A circular barrier materialized in the clear blue sky as an invisible force yanked me into midair. Amidst the violent tugging, I felt someone desperately clutching at my robes. Looking down, I saw Tobias clinging stubbornly to my garments, being lifted alongside me. He shouted, "Master, I won't let you get hurt." I sighed. My foolish apprentice. I used my wind manipulation technique to lift him alongside me. The power of the lightning tribulation seemed to send something, actually aiding my immortal energy and lifting Tobias higher. A golden immortal lightning bolt struck down from the sky. Tobias clung tightly to me, and I unleashed my full cultivation. My heart, however, was overflowing with emotion. Is this what those mortal storybooks mean by "I'd follow you to the ends of the earth"? The thought made me blush, and the shield woven from immortal energy wavered, allowing a bolt of celestial lightning to graze my side. Tobias, quick as a flash, spun around and used his mortal body to shield me from the lightning. The smell of his scorched flesh made me burst into tears in panic. "Are you out of your mind? I'm an immortal. What's a mortal like you doing here? A divine lightning strike like this would annihilate your very soul if it hit you properly. Don't you understand?" Tobias just laughed carelessly, wiping my tears away while gazing at me tenderly. "Master, whether you're an immortal or a demon, in my heart you'll always be the delicate woman I must protect." Oh, the second divine lightning struck without hesitation. Fearing Tobias might do something reckless again, I swiftly pushed him aside and took the heavenly punishment upon myself. A searing pain shot through my entire body as I heard Tobias' anguished cry, his voice thick with heartbreak. "Master." He grabbed my hand with desperate strength once more. I tried to shake him off with immortal magic, but he pleaded, "Master, let me stay with you. Just being by your side is enough." Our fingers intertwined as warmth radiated from his palm, meeting his earnest gaze. I found myself inexplicably unable to push him away in that moment. The third celestial thunder descended with a deafening roar, clutching Tobias' hand. I had no time to erect any defenses, closing my eyes. I thought perhaps sharing a grave in death when we couldn't share a bed in life might be a blessing in disguise. When I opened my eyes again, Tobias and I were already soaring among the clouds. The Star-Lord of Fate's hearty laughter rang out. "Congratulations, 7th Princess, on successfully completing your tribulation." The Star-Lord of Fate approached from afar, fanning himself leisurely, when the soul-locking tower flew from Tobias' sleeve straight into his hand with a whoosh. The ox demon transformed back into an old ox by the banks of the heavenly river. Tobias frowned and muttered under his breath, "That was left to me by my mother." The Star-Lord of Fate fanned himself dismissively. "Nonsense. The soul-locking pagoda was always a celestial artifact. We're merely reclaiming what rightfully belongs to heaven. Your mother was the Lotus Fairy who descended 20 years ago to endure the trial of mortal love. Though she passed the trial, at the final crossing of the river of forgetfulness, she chose the mortal realm, forsaking her divine powers to live as a human woman. Then I understood every celestial being who successfully completes their mortal trial gains the right to make this ultimate choice. To ascend as a deity, one must drink from the river of forgetfulness and relinquish all mortal memories. To retain the memories of past tribulations, one must forsake all cultivation and live as an ordinary mortal. Tobias' mother chose the latter path, ultimately becoming a simple woman. No wonder Tobias possesses so many divine artifacts. They were left to him by the Lotus Fairy. It's no coincidence the Ox Demon targeted Tobias' family among all the households in Ox Village. Though the Lotus Fairy lost her cultivation, her celestial essence remained. Consuming her would greatly enhance demonic power. The Star Lord of Destiny continued. Speaking of which, you've got a bit of a celestial connection yourself. You helped the seventh princess defeat this ox demon, endured the lightning tribulation, and even made the ox demon your mount. Now, you have a chance to become an immortal. Tobias looked at me, his eyes wide with a childlike wonder and surprise. He pointed at the old ox in the distance. He's my mount, I encouraged him. Why don't you try using your beast taming spell? Mounting the ox with the beast-taming technique I taught him, the old bovine obeyed his command and soared into the sky, where he frolicked like a child in the celestial realm. Tobias, elated with his newfound divine steed, was joyfully practicing his beast-riding skills nearby. Only the Star Lord of Fate and I remained at the entrance to the heavenly palace. The celestial minister of fate inquired, "Has the seventh princess attained enlightenment through this mortal trial?" To drink or not to drink the river of forgetfulness, beneath the layered clouds, my sister was berating me and the Star Lord of Fate with celestial magic. "Azra, you whispered in my ear that saving those mortals would complete my virtuous deeds and break my love tribulation, yet you're the one who ascended to godhood. Star Lord of Fate, this is blatant favoritism. I was the one who wove the fabrics and spread the art of clothing. How dare you make Azra a goddess instead? Show yourself and explain." I parted the clouds, and my sister stomped her feet in fury, yet no one paid her any heed. Her words dissolved into sobs as she muttered to herself, "And Tobias, he liked me first. Why did he believe I was a monster in our past life? Yet now he'd risk his life to save you." The Star Lord of Fate sighed. "The sixth princess still has lessons to learn. I know exactly why all this happened. The truth is, I've been reborn more than once, during my first tribulation. Just like in the previous life, I met Yora. Back then, just like my sister, I believed the trial of love meant finding a perfect husband and experiencing mortal romance. I wholeheartedly trusted Yora, believing I had simply misplaced my jade pendant. It wasn't until the once-in-a-century cold snap hit, and I, having lost my powers, nearly starved to death. That's when Yora, the man I adored, actually tried to disembowel and eat me. I died in that catastrophe, and just before I succumbed, I saw my lost jade pendant on Yora. In my second life, fate gave me no choice. Yora remained my destined trial. Though I guarded the jade pendant containing my celestial power with utmost care, Yora still stole it while I bathed. At least in this lifetime, my heart had turned cold toward men. Having witnessed the horrors of mass starvation, I devoted myself entirely to weaving. I'd devised a method for crafting cotton-padded garments. To my shock, Yora actually traded my jade pendant with the earth deity for cultivation power. When the celestial emperor learned of this, he flew into a rage and dispatched heavenly troops to drag me back to the celestial court. A careless soldier accidentally struck my dantian with a magical artifact, abruptly ending my second incarnation. Thus came my previous life, the incarnation where I came closest to divinity. Yet while I cherished the world, serving all living beings, I lost life's simple joys, never living for myself, for love, or for family. Perhaps this is the purpose of my current existence. Tobias showed me the depth of a lover's devotion. My sister taught me that siblinghood isn't just about rivalry, but also mutual support. As for my sister's past life with Tobias, I believe Tobias genuinely had feelings for her at some point, but being the kind soul he was, perhaps his heart gradually grew cold after witnessing her cruel and heartless nature through their daily interactions. Riding his ox back to the palace gates, Tobias was met by the fate deity who said, "Young man, make your choice: immortality or returning to mortal life." Tobias looked at me, and I explained, "If you choose to become an immortal, you must forget your past. If you choose to remain mortal, you must return to Nyojia village." His eyes were watery, like a pitiful puppy's. "If I become an immortal, will I have to forget Master too? But I don't want to forget Master." A wave of melancholy washed over me, then I nodded solemnly. The Star Lord of Destiny asked me, "Princess 7, the time has come. Will you drink the water of oblivion, or not?" I enunciated each word with solemn gravity. "I shall drink." The Fate Star Lord handed me the bowl of lethe water, its surface reflecting fragmented memories of my mortal life, laughter and joy. So many carefree moments I never realized I'd treasured. After all these trials, whether to choose greater love or earthly love is but life's crossroads. Having lived through 4 incarnations of human suffering, I now hope my greater love may forge more golden ages, that others might know the bliss of earthly love I once cherished. A single tear fell into the lethe's waters. In my heart, I silently apologized. "Tobias, I'm sorry. I can't be with you." Tobias anxiously asked me, "If I become mortal, does that mean I can't be with Master anymore? I want to become an immortal. I want to become an immortal," he cried out anxiously. After all, he was just a 16-year-old boy, speaking of immortality with such childish willfulness. The Star Lord of Fate warned him, "Tobias, think carefully. Once you drink this river of forgetfulness water, all mortal memories will be erased. Then let them be erased. As long as I can stay with my Master, nothing else matters." Perfect, Lord Zeus of the Altair Palace is looking for a young immortal with a mount. Before the Star-Lord of Fate could finish speaking, Tobias snatched the water of oblivion from his hand, and we both drank it down in one gulp. I am the 7th princess of the Celestial Palace, and also Ceres of the Vega Palace. My ascension happened on the Chishi Festival, according to the Star-Lord of Destiny. I attempted to ascend to godhood twice, succeeding only on the second try. The first time was on a warm, blossoming spring day, with magpies chirping in the branches. The magpies in the heavenly palace had even rehearsed their formation to welcome me, but I failed to ascend. The second time, on the 7th day of the 7th lunar month, I truly succeeded in my ascension, and, in the spirit of making the most of existing resources, the Star-Lord of Destiny had the original cast of magpies form the Magpie Bridge to welcome me into the Weaving Maiden's palace. Years later, my sister Nesta also ascended to godhood. We abandoned our former hostile dynamic, becoming far more affectionate companions who often strolled together along the heavenly river. Every Chishi festival on the anniversary of my ascension, magpies would form their celestial bridge to commemorate my divine achievement. On that day, a handsome youth astride an ox would always pass by. My sister said, "That young gentleman has such delicate features, quite handsome indeed." Seeing his vacant, foolish expression that clearly lacked wit, I blurted out, "What a simpleton, master." Story 2. My husband came back from a business trip. I bought some vegetables and happily prepared a big meal for him. I didn't expect to walk in and catch him making out with his female colleague Xiaomei. Everyone would never have imagined that I was a bad omen for my in-laws, who had been blaming me for not giving them a grandson in 3 years. They slapped me hard and locked me in the storage room. No one could have imagined that a global extreme cold snap suddenly hit, continuous super low temperatures for half a year, shortage of supplies. I was starved to death. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the time before the apocalypse began. This time, I will enjoy eating hot pot with the air conditioner on, and watch everyone fight among themselves, making everyone pay the price. 1 prawn, crab, and oyster, total 275 yuan. At the vegetable stall, the shopkeeper handed me the packed seafood, which was still jumping around, very fresh. I clutched the bag in my hand, my whole body broke out in cold sweat, and a feeling of fear and despair of being starved to death surged in my heart, hearing the voices around me. I picked up my phone to check the time, realizing that I had somehow reincarnated. The sun was bright and warm, but I only felt a tingling on my scalp. My whole body was cold to the point of shivering. My phone buzzed. My husband's message urged, "Hey, don't forget to bring me a pack of cigarettes. By the way, Xiaomei is coming over to our house. Remember to buy her the most expensive sea bream." A voice message from my mother-in-law, with a sharp voice, "You useless chicken that can't lay eggs. Hurry back to cook dinner." My father-in-law scolded, "Our family has had 8 generations of bad luck, marrying you, an useless person." Seeing these messages, I was so angry I wanted to tear them up. My in-laws are stingy and mean, always only giving 20 yuan for groceries, and any extra has to be covered by myself. Last lifetime, my husband had been away on a business trip for a long time, and seeing how tired he was, I prepared good food to cook him a big meal. Unexpectedly, when I got home, I unexpectedly walked in on him hugging Xiaomei, a scene full of affection. I confronted him, but my husband, embarrassed and angry, slapped me hard. He said that not divorcing me was already being very kind. My in-laws have also been blaming me for not having a child for many years, calling me unlucky and saying I'm preventing them from having a big grandson. This is when I found out the business trip was a lie. My husband actually went on a trip with his colleague Xiaomei and got her pregnant. My in-laws know about it and are helping to hide it, while I am the only one who is kept in the dark. Then, they conspired to lock me in the storage room and take away my phone. I watched them all together having a meal, hearing their laughter, while I could only eat the rotten vegetable leaves they didn't want. A sudden change happened. 15 days later, the extreme cold of the apocalypse arrived, and the global temperature dropped sharply. In just a week, it dropped from the original high of over 40 degrees to 20 degrees, then to 10 degrees, and finally to minus 60 degrees. The world was frozen, and all living creatures went extinct. My husband's family forgot that I was still in the storage room, and they locked it from the outside. I can't get out by breaking the door. I only had a thin summer shirt on my body, and I eventually died from hunger, fear, and despair. I never expected to be reborn. A strong anger surged from my heart. There are still 15 days until the global cooling and the end of the world disaster. At that time, people and animals will all freeze to death. This time, I will make them pay a heavy price. 2. Thoughts return. I tried to remember the lottery numbers from my previous life and immediately took a taxi to the lottery store. I bought 10 tickets without hesitation, and I will wait for the evening's draw. Return the expensive seafood I just bought, and bought the cheapest and not fresh tofu, bean sprouts, And cabbage, not even a bit of meat. It's not yet the time to confront them. I was standing at the door. In the previous life, my husband came back from a business trip, and I was full of joy to see him, but I didn't notice a pair of beautiful women's high heels on the shoe rack, and the sound of laughter coming from inside. My nails dug into my flesh. I probably already knew my husband had been involved with Xiaomei, the female colleague. I studied my breath, controlled my expression, and opened the door. Sure enough, I walked in on my husband and Xiaomei hugging each other. My in-laws were smiling on the sofa, watching the two of them. Upon seeing me return, Xiaomei got off my husband and sat next to him. Where were you? You didn't even reply to my message. Are you blind? My husband was pressing me hard, but there was no sign of guilt on his face. My in-laws were also very impatient, urging me to cook quickly. As everyone was hungry, Xiaomei was dressed elegantly, looked young and beautiful, and gave me an apologetic smile. I'm sorry for causing you trouble. She said these words, but her eyes clearly showed provocation. My husband didn't hesitate at all. He directly reached out and pulled her into his arms, speaking to her in a gentle tone. That plain-faced woman was born to be a hard worker. Cooking a meal is her duty. The two of them were happy and harmonious, loving each other as if I was the one who didn't belong in my previous life. I couldn't hold back and confronted my husband about his relationship with Xiaomei, which led to a complete breakdown and ended up in such a situation. I suppressed the hatred in my heart. I covered my stomach and pretended to go to the bathroom. The mother-in-law coldly took the vegetables, and when she opened them, they were just cheap tofu and cabbage. She started to scold. You bought these, even dogs wouldn't eat them. Did you pocket the money? I lowered my head and explained, the vegetable prices have gone up. The 20 yuan you gave me was only enough for these. My husband got angry. I was about to ask him if he bought his own cigarettes, but as soon as I opened my mouth, I grimaced and said I had to go to the toilet. Immediately, the four of them covered their noses and wanted to drive me out in disgust. Lazy ox, lazy horse, lots of manure and urine. Get out quickly. After closing the toilet door, I could no longer control my anger and wanted to set fire to them all, but that would be too merciful for them. The smoke would make them pass out in 10 seconds, and they wouldn't suffer at all. These people must experience the hunger and cold I suffered in my previous life, as well as the bone-chilling despair. Then, I'll see how they can still be so comfortable with Xiaomei and their family. 3. That night, I took out my phone to check. And sure enough, I had 130 million, leaving me with 24 million after taxes. I was overjoyed. The next day, my husband yawned as he came out of Xiaomei's room, and I pretended not to see it. He gave me $50 to buy chicken and some meat dishes. Because Xiaomei only ate vegetarian food last night and was unhappy, I silently took the money. Leaving home, I didn't go to the market, but directly went to the lottery center to claim my prize, to prevent someone I know from recognizing me. I was fully covered, wearing a hat and a mask to hide my face, a total of 24 million. My hands are trembling. Look up at the sky. It's a sunny day, so hot that I start sweating in no time, and the weather forecast shows continued high temperatures for the next week. I don't have much time left. There are still 14 days. I must build a top-level safe house before the extreme cold arrives. After the apocalypse, the lowest temperature can reach -60 degrees. And both animals and people have suffered heavy losses. To avoid my husband's suspicion, I bought the vegetables and then went downstairs to call him. I have a stomachache. I can't stand it anymore. I need to go to the hospital. Given my husband's personality, he is stingy and cheap. He indeed only let my mother-in-law come down to get the vegetables, and he scolded me for being a jinx, always getting sick and wasting money. They were too busy to go with me to the hospital, and they were worried about having to pay, so they sent me away alone. It gave me a perfect opportunity. I searched online for real estate listings and finally found a villa near the suburbs, a detached 2-story house. It has a land area of 280 square meters, and the price is less than 3 million yuan, which is relatively cheap considering it's not in the city center. The owner has been living abroad for a long time and entrusted the agent to handle everything. When the agent showed me the house, I found that there was a section of steep terrain that required climbing, and even cars had difficulty getting up. When the extreme cold begins, the ground will be completely frozen, and this section of terrain will be my best shelter, as no one will be able to climb up. A detached villa with a large yard, then the whole world will be frozen. I can comfortably use the air conditioner, eat hot pot, and enjoy the view in the courtyard. I paid the full amount without hesitation. The agent has never seen someone so quick before, didn't haggle, which made him very happy, and he rushed to handle the procedures, and the transfer was completed quickly. This villa is mine now. Using a stomach illness as an excuse, I made up some nonsense, told my husband that my condition was serious and I needed to be hospitalized for intravenous therapy, and said that I needed to pay 3,000 yuan for the hospital fee. He pretended not to see the message. and didn't even know which hospital I was in. My in-laws also didn't dare to urge me to go home to cook, fearing that I would ask them for money. Gazing at the luxurious mansion in front of me, this time, I want to see how they will get through the terrifying polar cold, for I contacted the most famous renovation team in the country. I asked them to replace the villa's gate with a more advanced blast-proof door, reinforce and heighten the wall, and install a fence and surveillance system. The materials used for the house are of top quality, not only possessing fireproof and anti-theft functions, but also bulletproof and blast-proof performance, making it an impregnable fortress. The renovation company's manager had never heard of such strange requirements, and he said it would take at least half a month to complete. There's no time, only 14 days left. I directly paid $2 million. The manager couldn't stop smiling, and hurriedly worked overtime. Finishing the project ahead of schedule on the 5th day, the entire house frame was reinforced with double the load-bearing capacity, double-thick reinforced concrete, which can be safely used for storage without worrying about any issues, installed whole-house air conditioning. There should also be a brand new ventilation and underfloor heating system, because when the extreme cold comes, the most terrifying thing is the drop in temperature. A total of 8 bedrooms upstairs and downstairs. Even 10 people can live here, but I won't be so kind as to let my husband's family move in. I want them to die for the rest of my life, because I am an orphan, without family support from my mother's side. My husband dares to mistreat me, even bringing his mistress into the house, suppressing the resentment in my heart. I started with the final step, purchasing supplies. I made a list in advance. I went to the fresh food market, blackfish, sea bream, native chickens, native ducks, and live rabbits, all kinds of them, 50 of each, all cleaned and taken away. Then I went to the seafood section. I bought 10 boxes of hairy crabs, blue crabs, Australian lobsters, oysters, and squid, choosing the freshest ones. Moreover, there are also 80 boxes of self-heating hot pot. To avoid getting tired of eating, I bought different spicy, tomato, and mushroom flavors. In cold weather, snacks are even more essential. Bags of boneless chicken feet, chocolate, potato chips, cola, milk tea, sparkling water, one box after another being carried. Anyway, I have enough space to pile them up. Grains and oils are the most basic guarantees. I bought 50 boxes of hot pot noodles, compressed biscuits, 20 caddies of meat sausage and bread, 20 caddies of beef jerky, 30 caddies of vacuum-packed rice, 30 caddies of peanut oil and vegetable oil, etc. Fill in the villa's delivery address, and have the merchant deliver at night, so it's less noticeable. I almost forgot. When the world is frozen for half a year, it will still be necessary to buy disposable sanitary napkins, toilet paper, towels, underpants, and other daily necessities. Also bought 10 down comforters. A total of 30 sets of down jackets, in all colors and styles, are the best in terms of heat retention. When the end of the world comes, it's hard to say there won't be times when you get sick or catch a cold, so it's better to be prepared. I bought 20 medical kits. They include common items like alcohol and anti-inflammatory drugs, just in case, in the long cold weather. Of course, electronic products are also needed. Since getting married to my husband, I haven't been in touch with these games that young people can play for a long time. I converted a room into a game room, filled with computers and tablets, which would not get boring for several months. The other room is used as a movie theater, equipped with a projector, and the shelves are full of magazines and DVDs, so there will never be a dull moment. Prepared 30 large generators. No need to worry about power supply. They would be sufficient for 2 years, let alone just half a year. Water is the most important. A room filled with pure water, so I no longer have to worry about drinking water. It took 2 days to prepare all the supplies. The basement is completely filled. Extra food was stored in the bedroom on the first floor, not to mention half a year. It's enough for me to eat for 2 years. I placed all the supplies on the shelves according to their type, expiration date, and production date. I arranged them like a large supermarket, and my OCD is extremely comfortable. Countdown to the extreme cold, 7 days. 5. My husband sent me a message on the phone. You don't know how expensive the hospital fee is. Come back quickly and cook for us. My mother-in-law is also sharp-tongued. These days you weren't home. I cooked for you. I'm old. My back and legs hurt, and you're even more precious than me. My grandfather has never taken my side, and he was also angry. You good for nothing. Rather waste money on the hospital. If you're not dead, get back home quickly. Don't forget to buy vegetables. I coldly smiled and replied, okay. I'll be back right away. Even the excuse I made about being hospitalized, they didn't come to see me. They were eager for me to go back home to take care of them. It's just perfect. Let me witness their final fate with my own eyes. I bought a small electric vehicle and returned from the suburbs. At the front door, as expected, I heard laughter and joy coming from inside. My heart was completely calm, and I was no longer affected by their family at all. When I pushed the door open, My husband frowned and stared at me. Hurry up and cook. Why are you wasting money by going to the hospital? It's just a stomachache. Drinking some water will be fine. I looked at my own room. The room was already filled with cosmetics and sexy little strapless dresses. During this time I was not at home. Xiaomei just took over my room. She lowered her head and said apologetically, "Sister, if I'm bothering you, I can move out." My husband wasn't happy and shouted angrily, "You ugly yellow-faced woman, you can just live in the storage room from now on." My mother-in-law also threw my clothes on the ground and scolded me indirectly, "Not giving birth to a big fat son, you're just a jinx. Letting you live here is already generous." Starting the next day, the temperature dropped from over 40 degrees to 20 degrees, and more people caught colds. My husband sneezed twice when he got up in the morning, but he didn't take it seriously. On the third day, clouds covered the sun, and the temperature continued to drop, only reaching more than 10 degrees, as if winter was coming. My mother-in-law put on a lined autumn coat, didn't take the abnormal weather too seriously, and still scolded me. At the same time, prices were rising. The Meteorological Bureau issued a cold protection warning, but most people didn't believe that summer could get this cold, including my in-laws. They looked at the people going to the supermarket to stock up and sneered. They said, "It's just a little cooler. Why are you so scared?" My husband fed Xiaomei washed grapes, looking very comfortable, but on the fourth day, when I woke up, everything had completely changed. Falling snow indicated that the temperature had reached below zero, and a large amount of fresh vegetables and fruits were frozen and rotten. I bought vegetables and came back home, only to have a few sprouted potatoes and some unsellable pickled vegetables. My husband's family was very unhappy. Xiaomei covered her swollen stomach and no longer pretended, coquettishly saying she wanted to eat cherries and lychees. But in this weather, even ordinary fruits are hard to buy, let alone the expensive ones. The mother-in-law rummaged through the bag of meager vegetables and said in a harsh voice, "You bought sprouted potatoes and tasteless pickled vegetables. Are you feeding pigs?" I told them I couldn't compete with those old people. Plus the prices have gone up. Even an apple costs 60 yuan. The road was icy, and I barely managed to buy them back. My husband's family is very afraid of the cold and rarely goes out, but they didn't expect the prices outside to be so absurd. I added, "The 20 yuan you gave me can't buy anything. If you want to eat cherries and lychees, I can also check, but at least you need to give me 1,000 yuan. They are extremely stingy." Grandpa's face changed, and he smiled to comfort Xiaomei. "I'll buy you some in a few days, just hold on for now." I smiled, thinking that in a few days you would not even have the potatoes you now look down on. Xiaomei lost her temper, went back to her room, and slammed the door shut. My husband comforted her for a long time before she came out. There was no way, so I just made a dish with the sprouted potatoes and the remaining vegetables in the fridge. I said I wasn't in the mood to eat, didn't touch a single bite. But they all ate it and ended up with stomach aches. In the cold weather of more than 10 degrees below zero, they became even weaker. My husband ate the most, and his symptoms were the most severe, with vomiting and diarrhea. Xiaomei also covered her stomach and cried that she was in pain. Grandma couldn't get up, panicked and asked me to call an ambulance, so I turned on the speakerphone. Due to bad weather, the city roads are icy and congested, and we are short-staffed. The ambulance starting fee is 1,200 yuan, and 200 yuan is added per kilometer. As soon as the mother-in-law heard it, she told me to hang up the phone quickly. She endured the abdominal pain and found some cold medicine for the whole family to take, accidentally preventing further diarrhea. I'm so smart, this way I saved over 1,000 yuan. Xiaomei had had enough of the frugal life, stood up and was about to leave. This worried the whole family. The husband held her tightly. "Don't worry. The temperature will definitely rise tomorrow. Then I'll take you out for a big meal, buy you a gold bracelet, and get a box of cherries." My husband made promises, and Xiaomei was comforted and stopped complaining. 6. Unexpectedly, after a heavy snowfall at night, the temperature on the fifth day dropped to 20 degrees below zero. The city is paralyzed, and supplies are becoming increasingly scarce. Water pipes are frozen, leaving them even less water to drink. As for the toilet, the grandmother doesn't dare to use water, so they temporarily gave each person a plastic bag to use for excreta, and secretly threw it out of the window. Someone in the group muttered, "Who's so uncivilized to throw feces on my balcony?" The grandmother doesn't even dare to pass gas, for fear of being found out. The environment is becoming increasingly worse. My husband's family doesn't mind the rotten vegetable leaves I bought, they just eat porridge with the remaining food, but the remaining food is now only half. Prices are skyrocketing, and the cheapest potato is selling for 200 yuan each. Xiaomei is pregnant and is always getting angry, saying she wants to eat seafood. My husband can only keep comforting her. Electricity bills have gone up to 150 yuan per unit, and it's already thousands of yuan a day. My mother-in-law doesn't want to turn on the air conditioner, and she also turned off all the electrical appliances, and the whole family huddled around the small heater, shivering from the cold. Her husband still has no sense of crisis, and he said to Xiaomei, "Don't worry, it will be back to normal in at most half a month, then I'll take you shopping." I stayed silent beside him, laughing to myself. Half a month, how could that be? It's been a full half a year of extreme cold weather. Just see if you can survive until then, except for half of the food. There's also almost no oil left, and I have to go out to buy supplies. As expected, it's definitely me. My husband reluctantly gave me 3,000 yuan, as if it were a big loss. He still wasn't convinced and warned, "You bitch, don't buy anything useless. If I find out you're hoarding, I'll break your legs." I pretended to be sad, wiped away non-existent tears, and said, "If you don't trust me, then come with me to buy it." It's so cold outside that almost no one is seen going out. My husband shrugged his shoulders and wrapped himself in a thick quilt. "You're dreaming. I won't go out and suffer." After saying that, his eyes fell on his mother-in-law. "Mom, you and this old woman go buy groceries. Don't let her waste money." The grandfather would rather stick to the heater. He and his son have the same idea. "Old woman, you watch over her. Don't let her waste money in this family, except for me." My mother-in-law's status isn't very high either. After all, she is also sexist. She deserves it. I opened the door, and a cold wind blew on my face, making it numb. I shivered from the cold. I turned back and called out, "Grandma, then we're going." In just a moment, Xiaomei hurriedly sent everyone away. She pushed the stunned grandmother out. "You two go out quickly. Don't let me and the baby get cold." Grandma saw the icy scene outside and stepped back in fear, quickly waving her hands and refusing. "I'm old. It's so cold outside. It'll freeze me to death. I can't stand it." I leaned against the door, pretending to be reluctant. I looked at this selfish family, intentionally delaying to let the cold wind blow into the house. What should I do then? Who will go with me? Her husband couldn't help but sneezed. Then he hugged Xiaomei and shut the door completely, with an unfeeling voice coming from inside. "Hurry up! Buy the food and come back. Don't forget to bring Xiaomei a box of cookies." I stood in the freezing corridor, a smile slowly appearing on my face. "You all just stay in that small shabby house and die." 7. I arrived at the parking lot and found my small electric car. Luckily it could still be used. I returned to the villa. The moment I opened the door, warm air blew on my face. The whole house heating system made me feel too hot even in my coat. I changed into a soft cotton nightgown and watered my potted plants. In my previous life, I was locked in a storage room by them, cold and hungry, and died in despair. Because I was an orphan without family support, and hadn't been pregnant for years, I was treated like this. Looking at the spacious and bright big villa in front of me, the heavy feeling in my heart was instantly dispelled. This time, it's their turn to experience the taste of dying of hunger. For this period, I was only eating plain porridge or rotten vegetable leaves. Recalling the taste, I feel like vomiting. Wearing comfortable slippers, I pushed a cart as I walked through my own warehouse, where tall shelves were filled with an abundance of food. To make it easier to distinguish, I also categorized them, such as snack area, beverage area, etc., and the sight of them seemed endless. Such a day is truly free and pleasant. Sitting in the huge dining room, I heated a bag of braised beef, and the fragrance spread, making one's appetite increase. Then I made a cold dish of boneless chicken feet, and finally, my favorite spicy grilled fish, with onion slices and soft stewed potatoes as the base. It was a feast for the eyes and the senses, making one drool. Of course, I couldn't forget to have sparkling water, and this meal made me feel completely comfortable. I sat on a fluffy big sofa to digest, listening to soothing soft music, looking at the courtyard. The pond was frozen, and the branches were covered with frost. It was truly breathtaking. Of course, watching TV series is a must. I had already installed a pinhole camera before leaving, and I could see everything my husband was doing at home on the LCD TV screen. The husband hugged the shivering Xiaomei, huddled next to the heater. The house was old and dilapidated. The glass was not heat insulated, and the door and window gaps were letting in the wind. A while later, my husband sneezed. The property management sent a message in the group, which was a price list. Cabbage 3,000 yuan per piece, milk 2,000 yuan per bag, carrots 1,000 yuan per piece. Mentioned all members. There's not much stock left. Residents who need it should report quickly today. It's simply a sky-high price. My mother-in-law hasn't been out to buy vegetables for a long time, and she was shocked, holding her phone and scolding. A bunch of heartless scumbags, taking advantage of the situation. Unless you're a fool, you won't fall for it. My husband also rolled his eyes. Exactly, when that old woman comes back, we'll have food. Who would buy these overpriced things? The whole family chanted in unison, even quitting the group and reporting the property management before leaving. I was lying on the sofa, drowsy, listening to music, laughing out loud, and sent all their words to the property management. Stingy, cheap, and foolish family. They didn't know they had just given up the last chance. From today on, there will be no vegetables to buy anymore. 8. It's almost 7 o'clock in the evening, but I still haven't come back. Pregnant women get hungry easily, Xiaomei complained. Why hasn't the sister come back yet? She probably ran off with some guy. My husband scolded me several times, then opened a bag of snacks for her. which he had hidden in the cabinet behind my back. Xiaomei ate without any restraint. There were only 2 or 3 bags left, and the mother-in-law felt a bit reluctant, but thinking about the child in her belly, she didn't say anything. Another 2 hours passed. My husband couldn't stand the hunger anymore, and sent me a message. I was watching a show, and didn't reply. He finally started to get worried, and called me 3 times in a row. When I answered, he immediately scolded me. "Where have you been, you old hag? I've been gone for so long buying groceries." My father-in-law was also angry from hunger, and he scolded me sharply. "Don't go out and waste the money my son gave you. It's a full 3,000 yuan. I was eating chicken feet. I wiped the oil from my mouth, took a breath, and spoke with a trembling voice. "Husband, when I came back from buying groceries I sprained my ankle. Come down and pick me up. I'll send you the address." Upon hearing this, the shouting from the other side stopped, and no one in the family spoke up. "Husband, mother-in-law, it's so cold outside. I feel like my hands are frozen off. Who will save me? I'm going to freeze to death." I described myself as very pitiful, even pinched my thigh hard to make it sound more real. From the surveillance camera, I saw this family looking at each other, no one speaking up first. Xiaomei was scared and swallowed her saliva. She whispered to her husband, "We can't go out. It's too dangerous." I was still pretending to be pitiful, but the whole family in the video reached an agreement. No one was willing to save me. Her husband said without mercy, "Since your ankle is sprained, just find a crutch to walk with, and don't come back too late, or I'll beat you to death." After saying that, he hung up the phone quickly. The father-in-law was so hungry that he felt dizzy, and since I didn't come back for a while, he might die on the way. He immediately shouted at the mother-in-law, "Go cook, are you blind? Can't you see we're starving?" Her husband also showed no respect for her, treating her like a servant. "Mom, hurry and cook. Xiaomei is currently carrying your grandson. She can't go hungry. It will affect the baby's development." Now, besides the 2 men, there are only 2 women at home, the mother-in-law and Xiaomei. Xiaomei is pregnant, and since the mother-in-law has the lowest status, the hard work of cooking falls on her. I lay on the warm sofa, taking out a box of ice cream and eating it slowly, looking at the surveillance footage. Several people were shifting the blame onto each other, who made the mother-in-law treat her husband and father-in-law like ancestors. In the end, it's she who suffers. There isn't much food left in the fridge. Among a pile of spoiled vegetable leaves, 2 clean eggs stood out. Xiaomei wants to eat, and her husband always complies with her. She reached out, but her mother-in-law stopped her. After all, there wasn't much food left, and there were so many mouths to feed in the family. They had to be careful, save them for tomorrow, just in case that troublemaker hasn't come back yet. Her husband, however, didn't think so, and took the eggs away. "Mom, I said not to worry. The temperature will rise again within at most half a month. What are you worried about? I'll buy you a basket of eggs then, so you can eat as much as you want." After the meal, the fridge was almost empty. Watching Xiaomei eat the eggs alone, looking very happy, the grandmother finally became worried and discussed with the grandfather whether to ask the property management to buy some vegetables. She didn't know that, with my help, the property management had already put their family on a blacklist. The grandfather was used to being taken care of by her. He never cared about such things. Just like his husband, who thought the grandmother was making a big deal out of nothing. "Once that money-draining person comes back tomorrow, we can let her go out and buy them. The property management is just a scam." 9. On the 6th day, the temperature dropped to 50 below zero. No one was going out in the community, and the road could only be seen covered with thick snow. It was quiet, making people feel uneasy. Xiaomei's skin is dry and itchy, and she scratches until it bleeds before stopping, then vomits what she ate. The grandmother was worried about the wasted food, and the husband was worried about her. No cause is found, and Xiaomei's face becomes increasingly haggard. I yawned and curled up in the bed, watching this family in chaos, and laughed. She took over my bedroom. I didn't expect the new bedside table and mattress in the bedroom to be discounted cheap goods, which caused serious formaldehyde overexposure. It's like a gift I gave her. In the early stage, there will be vomiting, and continuing to live there will lead to headaches, lung inflammation, and leukemia, and it will get worse and worse. The husband who sleeps with her has a strong immune system and hasn't shown symptoms yet, but it's about to happen. The old house doesn't have underfloor heating, and it's so cold that everyone can't stand it. Finally, the mother-in-law turned on the air conditioner, but after just 3 hours, it showed a power shortage. The mother-in-law bit her teeth and paid 9,000 yuan. But it was only enough for 3 days. The in-laws have been stingy all their lives. I never expected that in just a few days, so much money was spent. Money isn't valuable. It's gone like water. The scariest thing is that the food in the fridge is almost gone. For breakfast, it's still porridge with vegetables and pickled vegetables. Everyone eats barely. It's been a long time since we've smelled meat. When Xiaomei gets emotional, she starts to quarrel and refuses to eat anything. Thinking that there's still this gullible person buying groceries on the way home, the husband isn't too worried. He gives Xiaomei a look, indicating that later he will cook a special meal for her and give her snacks. Xiaomei is satisfied and goes into the bedroom to wait. The mother-in-law pulls the husband and says, "Son, I have something to say to you." In the husband's confused gaze, the mother-in-law speaks directly. "There's not much food left at home. You shouldn't let her eat anything. We need to save it, just in case this bad weather continues." The father-in-law has always been a fence-sitter, a person who sways with the wind, and he stands on the same side as his wife. The husband hesitated as he listened to his parents' words. Xiaomei eavesdrops on their conversation, with red eyes, looking pitiful, and wearing sexy clothes, which makes people want to protect her after she is pregnant. "But I'm really hungry. Do you not want me and the baby anymore? Then we'll go, okay?" Xiaomei was crying uncontrollably while leaning on her husband's chest. The husband comforted her for a long time, eventually giving in and secretly giving her the last 2 bags of cookies. I was sitting in the villa enjoying the view outside, drinking a steaming hot taro milk tea, enjoying the drama of their family. "Eat, and when you're done, there will be nothing left." When she gets too hungry, can her husband still continue to accommodate Xiaomei like this? 10. On the 7th day, the global temperature dropped to -60 degrees and stopped changing. The extreme cold arrived, and the world was frozen. A text message on the phone received a warning to stay indoors, as going out would result in freezing to death. On the 8th day, the family's food supply was gone, and there was no food left at all. Grandma wanted to send a message to the property management to buy vegetables, but found out she had already been blocked. She was so angry she started cursing. After cursing, she tried to add her as a friend again, but it still didn't work. She tried with other family members' accounts, but they were all blocked too. She regretted having left the neighborhood group chat on her own before, and now she was trying to sneak back in, but no one was chatting in there anymore. She had no choice but to search through the trash for old rotten vegetable leaves and vegetable roots. Meanwhile, she found that the last 2 bags of cookies in the cabinet were gone, and it was definitely Xiaomei who ate them. The whole family started blaming each other, and they were almost ready to fight. Everyone was too hungry to lift their strength. They thought of me again. They guessed that I might not have made it, probably died from the cold outside. After all, such low temperatures, without any protection, one couldn't survive the night. Called my phone, it was off. The husband was very angry, and Xiaomei was also crying loudly beside him. My husband was annoyed and shouted at her, "Cry, cry, all you do is cry." "I'm fed up." Xiaomei became even more upset. She covered her pregnant belly and was about to leave. This time, my husband didn't stop her. She couldn't get down from the situation. She didn't know whether to leave or stay. Everyone's attention was on the phone, and finally, they managed to get through. Before I could say anything, my husband scolded me from head to toe. "You ugly old woman, where have you been? You didn't come back for 2 days." I didn't say a word, and after he finished scolding, he naturally stopped to catch his breath. In the silence, they all heard the bubbling sound of the hot pot. My husband couldn't believe and asked, Are you eating hot pot?" My whole family was speechless, never expecting that I not only didn't freeze to death outside, but was actually doing very well. I was comfortably enjoying the delicious food. In the extreme cold of 60 degrees below zero, eating a steaming hot pot was too wonderful, especially watching my in-laws' family starving. It felt great. After hanging up the phone, I posted a video in the family group, on a spacious dining table. The red oil hot pot was bubbling, with plates of fresh lamb and beef, as well as abalone, lobster, sea bream, salmon, and even duck intestines that had been recorded. I sent a helpless meme. What should I do? I can't finish it by myself. My husband's family were drooling. They were staring intently at the video of the lamb slices covered in soup. They were so hungry they wanted to jump into the screen and taste them. I called them again in a hurry, and this time no one dared to scold me. My mother-in-law said sweetly, "Daughter-in-law, come back quickly, we miss you so much." Miss me? Probably miss my food. It's rare that this old woman would back down, so she must be really hungry, but it's still not enough, I said. "But I sprained my foot and can't walk properly, so I can't come back." My husband quickly took the phone, and his voice became much gentler. "Don't worry, let mom go get you, daughter-in-law. Send me your address." His words were better than singing. I almost laughed at him. Still, he didn't forget to reveal his selfish nature at this moment. My mother-in-law is old and might not be able to carry me back, and it's possible both of us would die outside. Moreover, a young and strong man like him would actually be afraid of dying at the critical moment. Pushing his mother out, I pretended to be hurt and said, It's not that I don't want to go back, but your family just can't accept me anymore." 11. Hearing what I said, the whole family turned their eyes toward Xiaomei. Xiaomei was afraid she would be abandoned, and with tears in her eyes, she gently touched her stomach and said, "Inside is your family's precious grandson, and it can't be harmed in any way." No one said a word, as if weighing the pros and cons. In the end, it was unclear whose stomach growled from hunger. My husband spoke gently to me, "My dear, come back, I'll make her leave your room, and I'll make sure to clean the room thoroughly." Just like before, is that all? I didn't speak, and continued to put a piece of fish meat into my mouth, tender and juicy, making them salivate. Grandpa slapped Grandma, angrily scolding her, "You old hag, it's all because you often bullied your daughter-in-law, making her do all the housework, and constantly criticizing her." I smiled, realizing that they also knew they were wrong. Grandma covered her sore face and apologized to me, losing her usual arrogant and domineering demeanor. "I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I'll treat you like my own daughter from now on. Give me a chance." No matter what she said, I remained unmoved. The sound of chewing the meat was clear, and you could imagine how delicious it was just by listening to the phone. My husband couldn't sit still anymore, speaking very gently, as if we had gone back to the time when we first got married. "Wife, it's my fault. I shouldn't have argued with Xiaomei. It's okay if you don't forgive me, but you're alone outside. It's dangerous, we're worried about you, it's unsafe, please come back first." If it were anyone else, they might have given in to the sweet words and softened their heart, but I hate them. In my previous life, I suffered from hunger and cold, and died pitifully in a dirty storeroom. I clutched the warm milk tea in my hand and said lightly, "No, just apologizing with your mouth isn't enough." The husband harshly slapped Xiaomei, a strong blow. From the surveillance camera, I saw her beautiful and delicate face swell up instantly. The husband scolded her, "You rotten fox, if it wasn't for you seducing me, how would I betray my wife?" Xiaomei stared at him in shock, crying nonstop, and desperately protested, "It was you who praised me for being beautiful, and told me that the ugly wife at home had bored you, not only couldn't give birth to children, but also had no interest, making you feel sick." Xiaomei, feeling sad and upset, blurted out all the things that were not fit to be mentioned. The husband slapped her again, and shouted angrily, "Don't say nonsense. It's all your fault for not working hard all the time, coming in front of me in a little short skirt. I refused you and you still came onto me stubbornly, trying to seduce me." He managed to shift all the blame onto others. Only Xiaomei was left crying, her face tear-streaked, very pitiful, her shoulders trembling. She didn't expect that a man's mouth could be so deceptive, that people's hearts could change, especially when faced with a choice of interests. Her husband's selfish and self-serving side came to light. Looking at his cold expression, Xiaomei's heart was shattered. "He used to treat me like a treasure, but now he treats me like trash." The in-law also kicked the mother-in-law, and said to me on the phone, "Daughter-in-law, I'll help you teach this old hag a lesson. She won't dare to bully you anymore." I just found it funny. The upper beam is not straight, the lower beam is not straight either. My husband truly inherited his father's selfishness and cruelty perfectly. 12. Hearing Xiaomei and her mother-in-law's sharp crying, I became annoyed and moved the phone away. "My husband seems a bit abnormal," he excitedly asked me. "Wife, are you satisfied? If you're still angry, I'll tie her up so you can beat her, okay?" To trick me back home, my husband spared no effort. They really found a rope and tied Xiaomei's hands and feet. "Ugh, don't do this, let me go." My mother-in-law hesitated to step forward and intervene, but she was kicked in the knee by my father-in-law, and she cried out in pain. Others ignored her completely. I was doing my own nail art, watching the scene of them fighting like dogs. The snow was still falling in the courtyard. I was curled up by the floor-to-ceiling window, not feeling cold at all, just feeling very comfortable. I said in a refined tone, "But you often called me a hen that doesn't lay eggs, and that I couldn't give you a big, healthy grandson. It was all my fault." My husband interrupted me hastily. His hunger had clouded his mind, and he even kicked Xiaomei's stomach with his foot. Her belly was visibly round with the pregnancy, like a half-circle ball. Even if she protected it, it was too late. The pain spread from her abdomen to her entire body. Xiaomei's face turned pale, she convulsed all over, and blood flowed from her lower body. Her water broke. That kick made my husband clear-minded again. He stared in shock at Xiaomei's rapidly deflating stomach and the continuous flow of blood on the floor. He was terrified, his whole body trembling. He stammered, I just wanted to pretend to scare that yellow-faced woman. I didn't mean to actually kick her." They obviously forgot that the phone was still on call, and I could hear it. The grandmother cried out and crawled to Xiaomei's side, but not to show concern. Instead, she cupped Xiaomei's stomach with her hands and screamed in a breakdown, "My grandson, my precious grandson." Her cry was heart-wrenching. It was clear she wasn't acting. She was genuinely overwhelmed with sorrow. Grandpa turned pale. He couldn't handle the sudden shock and fell to the ground. Pointing at her husband, she shouted, "How could I have given birth to such a beast? How could you harm your own flesh and blood?" Her husband was so flustered he didn't know what to do. I calmly watched the whole scene and gently told him, "Hurry and take her to the hospital. Maybe there's still a chance." Trying to help. How could that be? I just want to see them all pay the price, to atone for my past life. Sure enough, this family, upon hearing my suggestion, didn't have time to distinguish right from wrong, and immediately wrapped the bleeding Xiaomei in a blanket, all of them scrambling to help her out. They reached the door, a bone-chilling wind seeped in through the door crack, the grandfather sneezed, and his confused mind was cleared by the cold. He silently stepped back. "Wife, you and son take her to the hospital. After all, I can't help you women, I'll stay at home." The grandfather used Xiaomei's woman's status as an excuse in a dignified manner. What a pretense of propriety. In reality, he just didn't want to take the risk. My husband wasn't stupid either. He realized that the outside temperature would be deadly. The original sense of guilt towards Xiaomei was replaced by selfishness, and he didn't want to go out. Mom, we can't waste time. You take her to the hospital first. I'll go back to get the bank card. I'll follow you down right away. When I wasn't there, the person with the lowest status in the family was the mother-in-law. Two grown men stared at her with intense eyes, and she was afraid she wouldn't be able to return, trembling in fear. It's not possible. My leg was kicked by your dad. I can't walk. Besides, I'm an old person. I can't carry her either. 13. In the end, they didn't send Xiaomei to the hospital. The in-laws were stingy all their lives, never even buying a car, without any means of transportation. They called 120, but there were too many people in need of emergency care, and the line was always busy. Xiaomei lay in bed, and the mother-in-law used a towel to wipe the dirt off her, but the blood wouldn't stop, and the wound became worse with infection. She cried and begged, "Take me to the hospital, please." The in-laws remained indifferent, and she then said to her husband, "Aren't you the one who promised that you would love me all my life? You said you would take care of me and be good to me. It's really pitiful." Actually believing the nonsense a man said in bed, with no way to call for help, Xiaomei finally gave up. She looked terrifying and cursed the in-laws' family to have a bad end. She was given a simple treatment and locked in her room, still barely alive. Another week has passed. My husband was so hungry he looked like a skeleton, with deep sunken eyes. He went to knock on the neighbor's door, wanting to borrow some food. In just a few minutes, his fingers turned white from the cold, and the skin exposed to the air began to die. No matter how he shouted, the neighbor didn't open the door. My husband came back muttering curses. He had dialed the emergency number for the umpteenth time, but the response was always the same: wait for the rescue. The property management was too preoccupied to have time to care about them. The potted plants on the windowsill were uprooted and eaten by my in-laws. And even the soy sauce and vinegar were not left. Everything was drunk dry. Everything in the house that could be eaten was consumed. Gradually, people in the neighborhood group kept posting for help, but those who had food dared not speak up. Someone was so hungry that they had a nervous breakdown and jumped off the building to commit suicide. Less than an hour later, the body disappeared. It really scared my husband's family. The mother-in-law was so hungry she had hallucinations. She kept drinking ice water, her stomach swelled up like a round ball, and her mouth was cut by sharp ice cubes, which looked very terrifying. The father-in-law also smashed things and went crazy. At this moment, I called. The whole family seemed to have grasped a lifeline, begging me desperately to save them without caring about their dignity. "Daughter-in-law, please save us. We are almost starving to death." At this moment, I was eating hairy crabs and tuna in the warm living room. The garlic butter oysters just taken out of the oven are still steaming, and the braised chicken wings are golden and tempting. I've been playing games every day recently, and I even gained 2 pounds, listening to my husband's family complaining. I also recorded a video and sent it to the group. The table is full of steaming hot food, making them keep swallowing their saliva. "How did you treat me back then? You left me in the storage room and starved me to death." They don't understand what I'm saying. It doesn't matter if you don't understand. You all deserve it. Enjoy your last moments slowly. The power supply in the community was cut off due to the cold, and there is a power outage for 5 hours every day. The in-laws' air conditioner and heater also don't work, and they are shivering, huddled together. My husband is holding his phone, staring intently at the video I sent, watching each delicious and tempting dish. He is almost dying of hunger. 14. The in-laws' family is barely surviving, extremely weak. They even dug out rotten food from the sewers to eat, without caring about bacteria or viruses. The whole house is filled with excrement, emitting a foul smell. The mother-in-law has no time to deal with it, and it's extremely dirty. I can't take it anymore. When the husband went crazy and grabbed the window as if about to jump out, a kind neighbor from upstairs gave them a bag of noodles. Unexpectedly, the husband rushed into the neighbor's house and stole the noodles, and ended up breaking his leg. It was the mother-in-law who helped him back. They survived for another half a month on that bag of noodles. The corridor occasionally echoed with terrifying chewing sounds. My husband's family was so scared they used a cabinet to block the door. Mad. All of them are mad. I smiled. Their families' lives are quite tough. They're still alive after all this. It's about time to wrap it up. Early in the morning, Xiaomei was already dead, her eyes wide open, her body stiff. My husband was wandering around the house, acting crazy, sniffing here and there like a madman. He kept muttering, "Meat, I want to eat meat." My voice came through the phone, gently tempting him. "There's food right in front of you. The meat you want is here too." The in-laws were terrified and pulled the husband away from the corpse of Xiaomei. However, due to their old age and weakness from hunger, they were no match for my husband's frenzy. Prevent failure. I could only watch helplessly as he ate heartily. My in-laws' eyes were filled with fear, as if they were looking at a demon. Ha ha ha. I lay on the sofa, laughing so hard I couldn't catch my breath, wiping tears from my eyes. Deserved it. My in-laws were all so hungry to the point of drooling. But they dared not do such a despicable thing. I silently recorded the scene of my husband eating, and there was blood on his mouth. After he regained consciousness, I sent it to him. My husband couldn't bear the blow and went completely mad. My in-laws finally realized that only I could save them, so they begged me desperately, "Daughter-in-law, please consider our past relationship. After all, we are a family. Previously, we mistreated you, but we now know we were wrong." For the sake of food and survival, the grandfather and grandmother slapped themselves repeatedly until they were tired of slapping. I pretended to be moved. "Then I forgive you. I'll bring the food down. It's downstairs. You can come down and get it yourselves." The in-laws looked at each other with the faces of pigs that had been beaten. They were afraid that there might not be food downstairs. If they were wrong, they would die. But they were so hungry that they were skin and bones. And their usually sharp minds had become dull and rusty. From the window, it did look like there was a car parked downstairs, but they weren't sure if it was me. The grandfather told the grandmother to go downstairs to get it. They lived in an old residential area without an elevator, on the 6th floor. Normally, it would take several minutes to go up and down, plus, it was minus 60 degrees outside. If they went out for a short time, they would freeze to death. The grandmother was too weak to move quickly. She didn't want to take the risk, and so she was scolded by the grandfather from head to toe. The grandmother refused to go out no matter what. She certainly knew how dangerous it was. My voice was like a demon's whisper, tempting them. "Are you really not hungry? There's spicy braised meat, and fragrant self-heating hot pot. Grandma, you love the tripe, and Grandpa, you love the wine. Are you really not hungry?" After I finished speaking, there was silence. I knew they couldn't resist the temptation of food, as expected. After considering for 3 hours, Grandma was almost beaten to death by Grandpa. She was fully equipped, wearing thick socks and shoes, a cotton coat, and a thick outer coat wrapped around her body, leaving only her eyes visible. She clumsily went out. Unfortunately, she was too weak, and the clothes she wore made it impossible for her to move her legs properly, making her walk very slowly. She had barely reached the 3rd floor when she met a man who had also come out to look for food. Normally, they were good neighbors, but at that moment, the man was blinded by hunger. Upon seeing Grandma, his eyes lit up. Grandma was terrified and ran away. She called out Grandpa's name, trying to escape back home, but it was already too late. She was dragged in and the door was closed. The man excitedly said to his wife, "Honey, we have food now." The fate of the mother-in-law goes without saying. 15. The father-in-law had been waiting for a long time and was restless, pacing back and forth in the living room. The mad husband was sitting next to him playing with toys, occasionally letting out a silly laugh. 10 minutes later, I called and said, "How is it going? You should have gotten the food by now. It's fully loaded with enough for a month." The father-in-law's face changed, and he said tiredly, "No. That dead old woman hasn't come back yet." I was very confused and said, "How come? The mother-in-law just took the food, right? Did she not go back?" I acted shocked and said, "My goodness." The father-in-law was so hungry he was pounding his stomach, his legs trembling, and he was muttering curses. "The scumbag, how dare he betray me and hoard the food?" I silently listened to him vent. I was almost out of strength. And then I spoke up. "Exactly, how could the mother-in-law do this? She's so heartless, taking all the food for herself." TSK. The father-in-law was unwilling to accept it. He immediately called the mother-in-law, but couldn't get through. Her phone was off, which further confirmed my words. The mother-in-law might really have hoarded the food. He became even more anxious. I kindly asked, "Shall I send some more over, and you come down yourself to pick it up?" The father-in-law hesitated for a long time before finally nodding. He also went out fully armed, just like the mother-in-law. Due to hunger, he was weak all over, and even before reaching the next floor, he sprained his ankle, hurriedly trying to crawl back home. But the door was locked. He pounded on the door. "My son, open the door quickly. My crazy husband is in the room," firmly pressing against the door. Laughing, "I'm the most obedient." My voice comes from the phone. Yes, you did great. Outside is a terrible demon. You can't let him in. He will eat you." However, within 5 minutes, my father-in-law was frozen to death in the corridor, and his body also disappeared. The whole house was left with my husband who had gone crazy. On the other side, I sit on the fluffy sofa, looking at my new manicure, which is very beautiful. I haven't done housework for a long time. I stay in the villa. Occasionally apply a mask or moisturizer, and my skin is well kept, white and delicate, completely different from the previous dull-faced wife. The phone call hasn't ended yet. In the surveillance, my husband is standing on the balcony, arms spread out, looking like he wants to fly like a bird. His silly face is filled with a satisfied smile. "I'm going to fly away, flying away." I also laughed, my voice gentle beyond words. "Yes, jump down, then you can fly." The bitter cold wind bit through. The husband's entire face was covered in frost, his skin dead all over. He still didn't feel any pain, obediently opened his arms, and jumped from the 6th floor. With the death of this family, the hatred in my heart finally faded away. The long cold apocalyptic period ended after half a year. The thick clouds dispersed, thick snow melted, and the temperature rose to around 10 degrees. Survivors in the city gathered, and the government organized post-disaster reconstruction. Many people went missing, and their bodies were not found. The survivors tacitly avoided bringing up the filthy matter. I sold all the remaining supplies. After the disaster, there was a shortage of food and medicine, which were bought at high prices, and I made over 2 million more, adding the original 18 million. I now have exactly 20 million in savings. The remaining money is enough for me to live comfortably for the rest of my life. In the villa, I wore a deep red long dress, my wavy hair cascading over my shoulders, lazily sitting by the floor-to-ceiling window. I was admiring the new buds in the yard. The post-apocalyptic era has finally ended, spring is warm, and it's a new beginning. I was basking in the long-lost sunlight, having avenged my great enemy, and felt completely at ease, savoring red wine slowly. Living is really nice. Story 2. Apocalypse arrived, and the true heiress, flanked by her bodyguards, locked our family in the basement. She and her family took up residence in the small supermarket that belonged to my family. Despite our desperate pleas, my parents and I couldn't even obtain a morsel of food from them. When the zombie horde attacked, the heiress and her family pushed us out to feed the zombies in order to save themselves. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to the day the true heiress was taken back home by her parents. Lorna barged into our family's supermarket with a group of bodyguards, and without a word, flipped the dining table where my family was having a meal. My parents, who had cherished their daughter cautiously for 18 years, were now being fiercely glared at by her. How can you still have the nerve to eat and drink when everything outside is in chaos? Lorna demanded as she reached out her hand towards my dad. Give me the keys to the supermarket. My dad, who had always been kind to Lorna, was at a loss but handed over the keys since Lorna insisted. With the keys in hand, Lorna snorted. At least you're sensible, Dad. What's going on? Has Lorna's family treated you badly? My dad asked nervously, rubbing his hands in front of Lorna. Lorna glanced at my dad and said lightly, Lorna's family treats me very well, better than you ever did. Look, I've only been home a few months and haven't I become much fairer and chubbier? You run such a big supermarket but never spent any money to dress me up. My mom's eyes welled up with tears as Lorna spoke. Dear, your dad and I have never wronged you. Lorna screamed and stood up. You are not my parents. Stop pretending to love me. She quickly left the store and got into a car. I couldn't stand Lorna's pretentious behavior. If my parents were really bad to her, that would be one thing. But from what I've observed since I've been home, my parents are hardworking, honest people. Not only do they maintain good relations with the neighbors, but there is also nothing to fault in their conduct. Although our family isn't particularly poor, we're certainly not wealthy. Our family's supermarket, located next to the bus station in the county town, may not be large, but it has everything needed. The supermarket is our family's everyday home. There's a second-floor attic above the supermarket where they live. I couldn't understand what Lorna was up to, but I remained cautious. I tried asking around on social media, but unfortunately, nobody replied to my messages. That's how it is in high society. So-called friends are only interested when you have substantial wealth. Friendships can end in an instant. People without any value to offer are treated as less than nothing. I sighed, feeling something was amiss. Today, the normally quiet small town saw several luxury cars coming and going. Moreover, even the people who usually shop at our supermarket were strangers. They bought in bulk, loads of grains, oils, and other storable supplies. A voice in my head told me that something big was about to happen. I immediately told my parents to close the shop and stop selling goods. My parents had sold more goods today than in several months combined and were overjoyed, but seeing my serious expression, they didn't ask questions and closed the shop as I suggested. I took a deep breath and patiently explained to them, I have a bad feeling about this. There were many strangers today, and lots of luxury cars. The goods they bought suggest they might be planning to stay for a long while. My parents nodded in agreement. Dorothy, you've seen more of the world and know more. We'll listen to you. After all, making money isn't urgent at this moment. I felt a warm surge of trust and love slowly filling my heart. Later that night, Lorna swaggered into the supermarket, keys in hand. A month after being kicked out, I saw my foster parents again. The look they gave me carried a hint of disdain. After all, we've raised you for 18 years. If you could just treat your sister well, there'd be room for you at home. Facing their hypocritical expressions, I couldn't help but smirk. Why are you here in the middle of the night, leaving your nice villa empty? Lorna suddenly burst out, loudly interrupting me. Have you no manners? After Mom and Dad have worked so hard to raise you for 18 years, is this how you speak to them? And what's this about it being your house? This house was left to me by my foster father as compensation. I stared in disbelief at Lorna's blatant lying. My parents, awakened by the noise, stumbled out, bleary-eyed. What's going on here? Lorna's eyes welled up. Wasn't this house supposed to be left to me? Isn't this your compensation for mistreating me? Otherwise, why would I have the keys? Lorna turned to look at her parents. Seeing Lorna in tears, her parents softened and started shouting to throw us out, but before they could act, a sharp scream pierced the air outside. Lorna's father quickly pulled down our house's shutter as heart-wrenching cries echoed from the empty street. Murder, murder, help, can someone save me? Lorna was so frightened she could barely stand. Covering her ears in panic, what do we do? The zombie outbreak is real. I glanced out the window, where the woman who had been attacked was now motionless. Within a minute, she staggered to her feet, even with her stomach torn open. She stood as if resurrected and started walking towards our supermarket. Turn off the lights, I yelled. Lorna's father, from a high position, quickly ran to turn off the main power switch. The house plunged into darkness. I drew the curtains and my parents lit some candles on the shelves. That's when I had time to consider what Lorna had said. Zombies. The M-Country's lab was breached by humans. I overheard it at a banquet, but by then it was too late to fortify our house, and almost everyone who was unprepared drove to the countryside or less populated areas. Lorna's father, exhausted, took off his clothes and sat down. Thankfully, we made it. My parents didn't say much about their sudden visit. Perhaps because Lorna's family had indeed raised me well, the 6 of us settled into the cramped house. As the situation outside worsened and the infected numbers grew, we dared not make a sound. 2 weeks into the zombie outbreak, we lost power and water. Had it not been for the small supermarket we run, we probably wouldn't have survived even a month. After dinner one night, I lost consciousness. When I woke up, I found my parents and I locked in the basement downstairs. No matter how much we shouted, no one responded. After what seemed like days without the strength to even move, Lorna finally came down, her mouth greasy from food, her malicious nature restored. This damn apocalypse, who knows when it will end? The food in the store is running out, and I don't intend to share it with others. You won't die unjustly, one cuckoo taking over the nest, making me suffer for 18 years, the other 2. So poor that he wouldn't even buy me a bag, she lamented. Why have children if you can't afford them? Just die. I don't know how much time passed, but eventually, my parents and I were carried out by Lorna's family and thrown into a crowd of zombies. We had already become so thin, just skin and bones, that the zombies only nibbled on us a bit before turning away. Indeed, even the zombies weren't interested in us, I thought to myself with self-mockery, and then I lost consciousness. I was reborn. Dorothy, come meet your future sister. My foster father said cheerfully as he pushed a pale, thin girl in front of me. I had always known that I wasn't their biological child. Now that their real daughter had returned, I naturally had to give back her place. In my previous life, I didn't talk much. Instead, I went back to my room to pack my bags. Seeing this, Lorna couldn't stop crying. She threw herself at the feet of my foster parents, sobbing. Does sister dislike me? Maybe I should just go home and not bother her anymore? A few words were enough to make my foster parents impatient to kick me out of the house. This time, Lorna indeed started crying in front of me. I quickly cradled her face, carefully wiping away her tears. Then under our parents' watchful eyes, I gently took her hand and led her to my closet. These clothes are all yours now. What else do you like? I'll take you shopping at the mall in a bit. Seeing Lorna's stunned expression, her mother handed me a bank card. Without thinking, I took the card. Mom, don't worry, I'll make sure to take my sister shopping at the mall. I'll buy her everything she likes. I took Lorna to the mall, and after visiting a few luxury stores, we went to look at furniture. I heard Dad bought you an apartment. Is there anything you like? We can buy it today. After saying this, I nervously covered my mouth and looked at Lorna. You must not tell Mom and Dad. They wanted to keep it a secret from you. Pretend you don't know. Okay, Lorna nodded. And together we bought many home appliances. We even selected the furniture. I smirked and filled in an address in a high-end residential area. After dealing with Lorna, I hurriedly took a taxi to meet my biological parents. In my previous life, we lived miserably. This time, I would not let history repeat itself. They started crying as soon as they saw me. Just as I was about to speak, my dad said, Dorothy, your mom and I are thinking of selling the supermarket. How about we move somewhere nobody knows us? I was thrilled. Perhaps they had also been reborn. After all, in my previous life, I had suggested they move, but they didn't want to leave because of their attachment to the neighbors and the memories. Dad, do you know something? I asked. Tears welled up in his eyes as he gently patted my hand. I'm sorry. I didn't protect you well. Listen, the world is about to change. I quickly interrupted him. I've been reborn too, Dad. I later found out that my entire family had been reborn. The day I came back, I had used my savings to rent a house in a villa area, home to many from the entertainment industry, with good security and privacy. For the next few days, I took Lorna out shopping, satisfying not just her vanity but mine as well. I was responsible for the purchases, and my parents handled the logistics. We lived peacefully for several days, and I gradually let go of my worries, but I didn't expect things to go awry. That night, after organizing a small portion of supplies at the villa, I was ready to head back to Lorna's family's place. As soon as I entered their home, I saw the three of them standing there, arms crossed, all staring at me in unison. I had a bad feeling inside, but I still braced myself and walked in. "Mom, Dad, why haven't you gone to bed yet?" Lorna's father snorted coldly. "I was unaware that you have been doing all these things behind our backs," Lorna chimed in. "Yeah, sis. If you don't like me, just say it. Why did you have to take away the things I like?" Hearing this, I felt a bit relieved and looked up at her, puzzled. "When did I ever take your things?" Lorna's mother showed me her phone. "You've been quite close with that young man recently, haven't you? How could you keep such important matters from your parents?" Lorna's mother gently patted my shoulder. "I know you and Andy have grown up together like childhood sweethearts, but now," she glanced at her obedient daughter sitting next to her, then back at me. "After all, the person engaged to be married is our daughter Lorna, who is now back home. The marriage alliance should rightfully involve Lorna." Relieved, I quickly reassured Lorna's parents. "Mom, Dad, rest assured. Although Andy and I grew up together, we've never really seen each other in that way. Even if the sky fell, Andy and I would not end up together. Tell your sister not to worry. Andy doesn't have a girlfriend. If she likes him, she should pursue him." Lorna looked at me resentfully. "Then why do you hang around Andy if you don't like him? You even asked him out for meals. I can't even get a date with him." Getting close to Andy was, of course, to secure supplies for turning the villa I rented into a fortress for the apocalypse. But how could I possibly tell them that? So I told a lie. "Little sister might not know, but actually, Andy has been wanting to ask you out for a meal for a while now. He's been meeting with me just to find out what you like. In a few days, he'll probably ask you out himself." Lorna was thrilled to hear this, and seeing her so happy. Lorna's parents also showed rare smiles. When Lorna's parents were happy, so was I. After Lorna went back to her room, Lorna's mother stayed behind to talk to me. She patted my shoulder approvingly. "Dorothy, you handled that very well. True to how we raised you, you really have the knack for this." Lorna's mother handed me a bank card. "Your sister has been used to tough times since she was little and lacks a sense of security. Try to spend more time with her, and here's some pocket money from Mom. Don't forget to buy some things you like as well." I took the bank card, nodding repeatedly to assure Lorna's mother. I went back to my room with the bank card and immediately transferred a deposit to Andy. It felt like the heavens were literally raining coins on me. "I want all materials to be explosion-proof, of the highest security level, install an electric grid outside the villa, and reinforce the gates and walls." Andy quickly replied, "Don't worry. Their family is very reliable." Calculating the days, there were less than 2 weeks left until the zombie outbreak. I had listed my parents' house on a second-hand platform for sale, but since it was located in a small town, hardly anyone called to inquire. People in town were all thinking of moving out, while those outside wanted to come home but couldn't. This made my parents very anxious, and I had to reassure them, "Don't worry, Mom and Dad, once news of the zombie outbreak spreads, rich people will naturally come to buy the house. By then, we might even make a hefty profit." Nearly half of the goods from our family's supermarket had been moved to the villa, and I had cleared several shelves, leaving only a few to maintain appearances. The appliances bought earlier from the mall, like refrigerators, air conditioners, generators, and drones, had all been installed at the villa. During the day, my parents sold goods in the supermarket, and at night, they helped me organize the supplies we had bought back at the villa. I hadn't touched the second and third floors of the villa. When renting, everything remains as is. I transformed the door leading from the first floor to the basement into a hidden door. The basement was remodeled into a bedroom and a storage room. After all, in our previous life, we encountered a horde of zombies before our demise. If zombies really could traverse thousands of miles and break through homes, then the basement is undoubtedly the safest place. I spent every day ordering supplies online, transporting them, and organizing them. I was incredibly busy. Meanwhile, Lorna was preoccupied with meeting up with her beloved brother Andy and didn't have time to bother me. Days passed by just like that, until one evening when I came home and happened to run into Lorna's family packing their bags. "What's going on, Mom, Dad?" Lorna's father looked at me strangely and said, "It's nothing. Lorna just wants to go out and play, and we're helping her pack." The whole family looked as if they were fleeing from something, but I decided to turn a blind eye. "Are you going too, sister?" Lorna deliberately got close to annoy me. I usually avoid her, so there was no way I would go with her. She asked knowing the answer already. I repeatedly stepped back, waving my hands. "No, I won't go. You guys go ahead." Lorna nodded in satisfaction and continued back to her room to pack. After returning to my room, I was a bit puzzled. If they had known the news this early in the previous life, how could they not have time to prepare? But a thought quietly emerged in my mind. They were really just packing luggage to prepare for going out. The next day, the family of 3 leisurely left with their luggage. Seeing the empty villa, I also started to pack my bags to flee. While I was packing, the family of 3 came back with their luggage. "What happened? Why did you suddenly come back?" I walked out of the house and saw the panicked expressions on their faces. "Where are you going?" Lorna's father looked up at me. "I saw that you all were not home, so I also planned to go out traveling." Lorna's father rubbed his forehead. "It's not very safe outside recently, you." Before he could finish, Lorna tugged at his sleeve. Lorna's father looked at her in surprise, and Lorna smiled brightly. "Sister, Dad's just teasing you. Go out and have fun. Don't forget to bring us some souvenirs." I also smiled and nodded, giving Lorna a discreet glare. Some people can't hide their feelings, their dislike is evident on their faces. If that's the case, then I wish you an early demise. That afternoon, Lorna ran to my parents' small supermarket. Unlike the previous life, this time she pitifully knelt in front of my parents, complaining about how her parents mistreated her and starved her. If my parents hadn't been reborn, they might have been moved to tears. Unfortunately, Lorna's tactic wasn't very effective this time, but my parents still followed my advice and handed the keys to the supermarket to Lorna. Lorna grabbed the keys and ran off. There was one day left until the apocalypse. Since I used the excuse of going out on a trip to leave Lorna's family, I moved to a villa to live with my parents. We had nearly cleared out the supermarket shelves. We left only some useless household items there. Sure enough, that night, my parents received a call from Lorna. "Where did you all go?" Lorna cried frantically on the phone. "Where did you put all the food and water from home?" Seeing that my parents remained silent, Lorna seemed to realize something. Suddenly, her tone softened. "Woo woo woo, Mom, Dad, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. I miss you so much. Can you bring some food and water to the store to see me? I'm so hungry, please." At my cue, my parents repeated the lines I had prepared for them. "Lorna, don't cry. Mom and Dad are on their way back with food. Just wait for us," they said. Lorna, through her tears, managed a smile and a nod before hanging up the phone. After the call, I couldn't wait to check the home surveillance and saw Lorna's family looking out the window with somber faces. The zombie outbreak started late at night, and it was almost time. Lorna's family was still incessantly complaining. Lorna's mother walked past several shelves. "Look what this store has left. Towels, slippers, not a bit of food or water. How are we supposed to survive?" Lorna's father also looked dissatisfied at Lorna. "Didn't you say these poor folks had a lot of food at home, enough for our family to live on for several years?" Lorna, at a loss, shook her pale little face gently. "Mom, Dad, it's not like that. You've misunderstood Lorna. Lorna didn't expect things to turn out this way. Once they come back, we'll have something to eat. Then we can send them out to gather more supplies. I remember there's a storage room here. It definitely has food and water." Meanwhile, my parents were furious. My mom sat in a chair nearby, wiping away tears. "We raised Lorna with all our hearts, and it turns out we raised an ingrate. And then there's you, Dorothy, with whom we had no real ties, and we never raised you, yet you show such filial piety." I couldn't help but tear up. Blood is thicker than water. After all, I can see who truly cares. During the years with Lorna's family, though her parents never mistreated me, they were extremely strict about my education. From as early as I can remember, I was enrolled in various training classes. Every day I had to learn various skills. When Lorna's family parents attended banquets, they took me along to perform for the guests. A good performance would earn me praise. A poor performance would leave me facing endless darkness. As a child, I longed for the company of Lorna's family parents, but we actually didn't spend much time together. Most of the time, it was just me and the servants in the mansion. As I grew older, they started restricting my social interactions. I could only associate with people they approved of. I couldn't make friends on my own. So when I found out I wasn't their biological child, I felt a strange sense of relief. So the first time I met Lorna, I was eager to leave Lorna's family. In front of us, Lorna would cry and complain about how terribly my biological parents treated her. At the time, I even resented my biological parents. Lorna was dark and thin, like a little monkey, clearly looking malnourished. Only after meeting my biological parents did I realize they had never mistreated her. Her thinness was due to her obsession with dieting, and her dark skin was from hanging out in the streets with friends, getting sunburned. It wasn't that her parents didn't give her spending money, but she always chased after luxury items, wanting to buy expensive bags and cosmetics. Whenever her parents didn't meet her demands, she would throw a fit and hang out with those friends. Over time, her parents couldn't handle her and indeed couldn't control her. This time, finding out that Lorna's family corporation was her own family likely fulfilled her wishes, so she did everything to please Lorna's family parents, even to the extent of forcing our family into the basement to save Lorna's family parents' lives. At the moment, Lorna was still cursively blaming us. Perhaps because she was a bit hungry, she pulled out some snacks from her bag, prepared in advance, and started eating on the floor. They waited until late at night, but Lorna's family never saw us coming with the food. That's when they finally remembered me, far away. When Lorna heard this, her eyes brightened. "Yes, indeed, how could I forget about Dorothy?" Lorna's eyes twinkled with malice. "She's been squatting in our nest for so many years. Now it's time she repaid us." As she spoke, my phone began to ring. Answering the call, I was greeted by Lorna's father's insincere voice. "Dorothy dear, How have you been enjoying yourself lately? I hear the times are troubled. You should hurry back home. Your mom, dad, and sister are all worried about you. When you come back, could you stop by the supermarket and pick up some supplies? We're running low on everything here. I curled my lips into a smile, feigning urgency. Don't worry about me. I'll bring supplies home. Lorna's father sent me the address. His tone much softened. I'll be home soon. I just got off the plane. You called just at the right time, Dad. Upon hearing that I would be home soon, Lorna's family couldn't stop smiling. Good child, we can always rely on you at crucial times. He hung up the phone contentedly, not noticing Lorna's increasingly gloomy face on the side. After hanging up, I checked the time. It was almost right to deliver them a big surprise. I called the person who bought our house, Mr. Jorge. We've packed our bags and left the supermarket. You can move in now. The other side seemed impatient as well. And upon hearing I had left, they immediately prepared to leave. In fact, a few days ago, a mysterious tycoon reached out to me after his assistant saw that my house was for sale, urgently needing a place to store supplies. Without a second word, he transferred a deposit to me, and after viewing the house, he immediately paid the full amount. During this time, he also continuously stored food and other supplies in our warehouse. Jorge is a good man. He even called to advise me to prepare enough food to last a year. He wasn't in a hurry for me to move out immediately but said he was willing to give me a few days. However, I had to move out completely by November 10th. I nodded in agreement. November 11th was the day the zombie outbreak was set to occur. Within half an hour, Mr. Jorge's car was already at our house's supermarket entrance. Upon hearing the roar of the car engine, Lorna jumped up from the ground excitedly. Great. Maybe it's Dorothy and those two paupers coming together. Lorna's parents also stood up excitedly. Without a second thought, Lorna quickly opened the supermarket's rolling door, eagerly looking outside. Their eyes met. All was silent. Mr. Jorge even took a few steps back and looked up at the sign hanging at the supermarket entrance. He confirmed it was the safe place he had purchased. He hadn't made a mistake. Who are you? Jorge asked warily, eyeing Lorna and her parents. Lorna immediately became tense, her tone unfriendly as she eyed Jorge. And who are you? Why are you at my house? What do you want? Jorge, not one to be easily intimidated, his expression darkened upon hearing Lorna's tone. This is my house now, and I want to know why you are trespassing. Believe me, I will call the police. Lorna scoffed. Go ahead and call them. See if the police have time for this trivial matter right now. Lorna rolled her eyes at Jorge and turned to shut the door. Fortunately, Jorge reacted quickly. Two bodyguards immediately leaped out from behind him, blocking Lorna's move to throw her out. I bought this house with my money. It's my home now. The name on the property deed is mine. I am the rightful owner of this house. I don't know who you are, but the original owner called me to say she had moved out. I advise you to leave my house immediately, or I will make sure you regret it. Lorna might have been inexperienced, but that didn't mean Lorna's parents were too. They stood behind, staring blankly at Jorge for a few moments, then suddenly recognized who he was. Though they had never met him in real life, they had often seen his face on television. Jorge is a highly influential figure in the finance industry. As soon as Lorna's parents saw him, they approached him immediately. Hello, Mr. Jorge, we're terribly sorry. Our daughter has been separated from us since she was very young and we have only just found her, so she's quite wary of strangers. Please don't take it personally, there might have been some misunderstanding. I was just curious about where you purchased this house. Jorge snorted coldly. I bought it from Dorothy. She was the true owner of this house. I'm not familiar with your family matters, but I would advise you to leave my property immediately. With that, Jorge issued his final command. Suddenly, Lorna burst out, "This is my house. Can you stop spouting nonsense?" No sooner had she spoken than her father quickly stepped forward and slapped her hard across the face. "How dare you speak to Mr. Jorge like that? You're completely uncultured. If only Dorothy were here, she certainly wouldn't be as disrespectful as you are." Just then, a woman's piercing scream echoed from the desolate street outside, crying for help. Without hesitation, two bodyguards quickly rolled down the shutter doors and locked the main door from inside. Seeing this, Jorge hurriedly turned off all the lights in the house. Terrified, Lorna stumbled and fell to the ground. Jorge glanced at the three intruders who had claimed his nest and still wanted his bodyguards to throw them out. "This is my house. I don't want strangers here. I don't know you. Your presence could be dangerous to me." Upon hearing this, Lorna and her parents' expressions changed drastically as they desperately pleaded on their knees for Jorge to spare them. Although Jorge had lived abroad since childhood, he was still Chinese at heart and was somewhat moved by the scene. He couldn't bring himself to harm his compatriots, so he called me. "I don't know you, but I know Dorothy is a good girl." As soon as Jorge finished speaking, my phone rang with his inquiry on how to handle Lorna and her family. Thinking back to their deeds against me and my biological parents in their past lives, I said, "Lock them in the basement without food or water. Let them survive as long as they can. I'm worried they might harm you if they stay with you." Upon hearing this, Lorna cursed me furiously. "How dare you accuse us? You're the despicable one here." Lorna tried to grab Jorge's phone to yell at me but was stopped by Jorge's bodyguards. Watching the frustrated Lorna on the surveillance. I added fuel to the fire. You probably don't know yet, but I've been aware of the zombie outbreak for a while, so my parents and I are safe and sound, enjoying hot pot in a secure place. With your venomous lies, who knows how long you'll survive. Eventually, Lorna and her family were locked in the basement. Later, Jorge asked me what should be done with them, and I sighed. Just send them some food and water periodically. During the first week of the zombie outbreak, we lived peacefully at home. The security in our neighborhood is excellent. Since the outbreak began, I haven't seen any zombies, nor any other living people. I'm not sure what it's like outside, and the internet connection has deteriorated, making it hard to get updates. Social media platforms like YouTube have crashed and can't be accessed at all. Amidst my idle days, Jorge called me again. Your foster parents and your sister are fighting. Hearing this, I immediately checked the home surveillance cameras, which were glitchy but still showed Lorna's father pinning her down and beating her. I instructed Jorge to hand the phone to Lorna's father and also wanted to discuss some matters with him. Jorge sent a bodyguard to deliver the phone. As Lorna's father picked up the phone, his eyes reddened upon hearing my voice. With a trembling voice, he said, "Dorothy, Dad is sorry for what he did to you. Can you come and save your father from your damn sister? I'll make sure she pays for this." Hearing Lorna's father's voice, I couldn't help but smile. "Let me send you another gift, Lorna." I played the recording of Lorna accusing her family in front of my parents. Upon hearing it, Lorna's father grabbed a stool nearby and smashed it on Lorna's head. The scene became uncontrollable. "You ingrate, I've provided for you since I took you in, and you dare to tarnish my name like this. If it wasn't for you, Dorothy and I, along with our child, would be sitting comfortably in a villa, enjoying the air conditioning. It's all because of you. Today, as your father, I will end you." Lorna's father exploded in rage, chasing after Lorna to hit her. Lorna fought back. "You just love Dorothy. No matter what I do, I can never compare to her. Then all of you might as well die." Out of nowhere, Lorna pulled out a knife and slashed at her father. Lorna's mother, too scared to intervene, just watched. When the two finally exhausted themselves, Lorna was sprawled on the floor, unable to move. Only then did Lorna's mother, still on the phone with me, come to her senses. She softened her tone. "Dorothy, it's Mom. Can you help me get out of here? All of Lorna's family's fortune will be yours. Mom really misses you. What use do I have for money now? Staying alive is what's most important." I scoffed at myself, thinking, if I had known this would happen, why did I ever bother? I ruthlessly hung up the phone. Because of Lorna's severe injuries and her father's lack of strength, the family of three collapsed in the basement. In the middle of the night, somehow, Lorna managed to escape the basement. Luckily, I was still awake and saw it on the surveillance camera, so I quickly called Jorge. Lorna violently opened the roller door, her noise echoing loudly on the desolate street. A horde of zombies ran towards her, and Lorna's father, from somewhere behind her, pushed her out. Lorna's mother, somewhat delirious by then, was also thrown out by Lorna's father. Just as he was about to close the roller door, the arriving bodyguard pushed Lorna's father out as well. Then he securely closed the door. Screams of agony could be heard from outside. None of the family survived. In the end, their fate was a result of their own actions. The second week of the zombie outbreak. Just like in the previous life, there was no water or electricity. Half a year after the outbreak, the government announced new news. A zombie vaccine had been developed, and all survivors would be relocated to a safe zone. A month later, under military escort, our family finally stepped out of our home again. This moment marked not just a new beginning for our family, but a rebirth for the entire nation.